trying to cast my arm, maybe?
And yet companies that are so closely geared to the Chinese consumer are continuing to do well.
Serious?
And on the same token, there's this sort of thinking here on Wall Street that
she actually flashed
two separate
to save dilution.
Vertically integrated.
No way.
You've seen that in China as well, as far as say like the fathers of the world who
gotta be no way, man.
Who are looking
That's
to get
the forest
into
dream, bro.
compared to the JDs of the world who are using AI to be more
Just have to auto attack once.
operationally efficient.
What really jumps out to me is that in mainland China, the
it's not
Shanghai,
looking that great. I've
Shenzhen,
lost a lot.
Starboard, the semiconductors and the tech hardware companies are really
That's not great, man. I think this guy's going to get away too, so we're getting actually nothing.
With AI adoption globally, as well as a big beneficiary
there's not much I can do. Let me double check this because there's maybe something I can do.
On technology self-reliance. At the same time, when you look at offshore Chinese entities, companies like
well, that's cool. We still got the gown. He actually thought I was going through the jungle there.
K-Web, so if you contrast kind of K-Star with K-Web, it goes back to this tale of two Chinas, where I think investors in China are much more optimistic, where I think a lot of foreign
actually, I'm just going to continue. Let me get back to top lane. I'll see how much I can farm here. Just got to pay attention to Fizz.
South Korea plays when it comes to AI. Hopefully we see a little bit of a rotation back into some of these Chinese tech plays. We do believe there really are doing
making solid progression, man.
things when it comes to AI. Just
be on the way towards mid lane. Hopefully we can make a play.
AI valuation premium like we see here in the US.
Yeah, why do you think that is? I mean, the case for sort of onshore versus offshore kind of investing. Is it the fact that they can get exposure to, say, your South Korean Samsungs and
jungle's
SK
getting away again, sadly.
That's where we've seen a degree of rotation just over the last year, or is it something else?
I mean, I think I would agree that some of
the trade that comes up in like a minute 40, so I'm going to try and push top lane out as far as I can.
Diversify internationally, so when you read what the government wants from a technology perspective, there's only a limited few places to go, where obviously global
Let's find out where Garen's going.
have a lot more. You're able to diversify across, not just the U.S.
Maybe we get lucky and he will go for tower.
But
Who
I
knows?
do think we're getting to a point where, particularly with what we've seen with the market move, particularly in South Korea, just, absolutely incredible run, really makes a lot of these tech plays, the Alibabas, Tencent,
This build is so great, man. I will admit, it's a great build.
Billy reporting tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be the next cab off the rank. Brendan, always appreciate it, and thanks for letting me.
And now we run for our lives because I know that Fizz is actually here right now. Guaranteed, I saw him move here.
Thanks so much, Sam.
Drake
we are nearing the end of our market session.
40 seconds.
We're bringing in Kevin Green to break down the levels that he's watching on the S&P 500, as well as today's action.
Let's go for that one. And I'm just not going to sell the longsword, just there's no need for this. My team is dying right now.
Sometimes,
Okay, but at least we cut the support right there. That's good.
level up and smart with Schwab.
I'm Kevin Green. I
slowed him. Can I also get dilution here? Would that be possible? I don't know.
Watch live on Schwab Network, schwabnetwork.com.
I was going to consider using Flash, but as it turns out, he's just not there anymore.
Trading at Schwab is powered by Ameritrade, giving traders even more ways to sharpen their skills.
Let's make sure we get Drake here.
Get an expanding library filled with new online videos, webcasts, articles, courses, and more.
I don't think they're going to steal it. I don't think that Fizz would do it.
And with guided learning paths, stacked with content curated to fit your unique goals.
Another one in our collection.
Pretty good.
Now we just need to get 120 gold. I'd much rather not be up against Fizz right now. I don't have much of a chance.
We're back here on Market
against
Close. I'm Sam Bardas on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange alongside Marley Caden over in our Chicago headquarters. So we've just got a few minutes left in today's session. Let's welcome in Kevin Green, Senior Markets Correspondent, to help close out the day. So stocks have really been sort of
quickly do a reset. I might consider dropping my ultimate towards mid lane.
Iran headlines and Jim Bianco, who's obviously a good friend of our network, really spelled spelling it out as far as that timeline. I mean, just
Actually.
before the open, close
Maybe
to a
I
deal,
don't.
futures
Just gonna walk
rallied,
my
and
way
after
back,
that,
actually.
not close to a deal. S&P down, afternoon holding on to tomorrow's attack. S&P
farmer
recovers.
tower,
So
man.
we're still at the mercy of these headlines, Casey. Just walk us through the price action and the levels you're looking at.
Well, see, what was different today is that the Iranians kind of gave us a little bit more bullish optimism to start the day, and it seems like the U.S. is kind of knocking it down. And then we have this truth social post towards the end of the day that has allowed us to
I'm not
recover
getting
here
the
a little
support,
bit.
do I?
Looking at the levels from this morning, we did actually break through that 73.90-ish area, got fairly close to 73.50, had some buyers stepping in.
we
Obviously,
actually
that
got
announcement
it,
did see
dude.
a push to the upside
Oh,
here.
man.
We're still kind of trading
That's
within
perfect.
this range, so the downside sitting at around 73.40.
I did not expect that was going to
I'd say
land.
the range is kind of sitting at around 74.50. We did have a breakout before we kind of got back within this
On
type
the
of
way.
channel here. But
Scaring is useless. I've made him so far behind in the
It's
game.
actually going to be two levels. 7,400 is going to be the first one that I'm going to be focusing on just because of the volume.
Alright.
Was obviously transacting at that level pretty much for the back half of today.
Can we push like one more wave house? I think the next item I'm going with is going to be more attack speed damage, I think.
Second to the downside, 73.60 here. Head risk is going to be 7,400. Let's see if we're going to be able to hold up into the close. It seems like the market on close where it was for the most part a decent imbalance to the upside.
There's
here,
also
and we were able to
this guy
get off
up
of the
here.
lows. We'll see what happens over the next couple of trading sessions. But if we kind of reduce some of the geopolitical risk, maybe
that did not
we're
work
able
out.
to kind of hold up at these basic highs, these recent highs. There's still some relative weakness when it comes to the semiconductor space, especially when you're looking at memory, though. So you have to be mindful of that.
I've got my ultimate ready.
What are you seeing in terms of breadth today? Because I mean, as I'm looking across the S&P, we've kind of got a distinct split. The Dow found itself a quarter into positive territory right
could
now.
make a
Industrial,
play, you know,
financial
but
sort
we
of
could also
helping
just play
there.
slowly.
But obviously, tech really lagging today. What are you seeing?
I guess I'm going to choose to go for
expansion
Garen.
of breadth, but it's a little bit more defensive in nature. You had energy obviously actually leading the way still, even after
Yeah,
that announcement, up
try it
about
out.
1.6%. Consumer staples.
I think Garen's going to show up. Actually,
Market's
Garen
getting
doesn't
prepared for
show.
Walmart's earnings.
Are you
Some of
kidding
those
me,
consumer
dude?
staple
Well, I think
stocks have been
he's still going to show. Yeah, he's going to move forward. This is actually going to work.
Cheery or Dollar General, and then you have interest rate sensitive stocks like financials and real estate also catching a bit here today as well.
Way too easy, man.
I think if you're kind of looking at the market,
Actually worked out.
Yields actually kind of only moved down 2 basis points since that announcement from President Trump, so not a very big impact there. Dollar still.
I need to do something about mid lane. Mid lane is not looking good right now.
Today, 5-minute chart here. What I found very interesting was actually we were basically fading the anchored volume-weighted average price.
Yeah, Drake is also coming up, so we have to make a play right now.
As the open
Try
up,
something.
that spike to the upside, fell below that the volume-weighted average price. And anytime that we really try to test it, that's when sellers actually came into this market. Until recently, we have actually obviously have broken out here.
Well,
Now,
we got the
what's gonna be
Nami ultimate.
interesting overnight, are we able to stay above this volume-weighted average price? And are we able to get back
create
to those
pressure in mid
highs,
lane.
or do we fall below it as well? So I think that's going to be a key technical indicator. It is every single day, but today it was one of those easy type of signals where as soon as we
Very
got
nice.
very close to it, sellers stepped into this market.
Another
Until
one.
we had
There's also
this,
Fizz right here.
Flow shift on the last 30 minutes, 35 minutes or so.
Yeah, what's interesting is the S&P equal weight.
50 seconds for Drake.
Of 1% as you talk about breadth.
Importance.
I mean, you pointed out this morning a very defensive trade, consumer staples high, obviously a lot of retail names.
Maybe I can get some jungle
But a mixed
claims.
session
Yes.
here as we round out today.
Dude, the attack speed's also so nice. I'm not against him. I'm too strong. I am too strong for that guy.
So we take off the lows, the S&P 500 just rounding out the day on the line to the downside.
15 seconds for Drake. It's going to be the last Drake also, so we're going to become really strong if we get it.
Which was expected to come
So
tomorrow.
obviously,
So that's where
I
we
think
saw
the
a
jungle
move. Just a
is
little
going to try at him stealing it.
Oil coming off a bit, so were yields. I mean, the 10-year was at 462 at the start of this show. It's at 460 right now. And then, as I mentioned, that certainly helped stocks lift a little bit here. But still underwater for the Nasdaq 100 as well, down around
Wow,
1%.
still alive.
And really a lot of the drag was coming from the chip names as well. They continued to
As long as we get Drake. I don't care what happens to the team fight. We just need to make sure we get this one.
Particularly in that memory cohort, pretty much all under
We
pressure
got it.
today.
Pretty good, man.
Some heavy selling,
Pretty good.
particularly
I think
names
I'm
like
going to go for lifesteal instead of going for damage.
Western Didge. A lot of this is being attributed to obviously the concerns around the hit to production and shipments that a potential Samsung worker strike.
Dude, look at all the hats that we got right now, man. It's actually going outside of my screen right now.
Of course, the chip trade being something that has been pretty crowded, as we know, and people saying was due for a bit of a pullback. What was encouraging, as we mentioned, we did see rotation into softwares today. The IGV actually ended up over 1%. So technology was 1% lower in the day. As we mentioned, more of a defensive type of trade kicking in.
We have definitely more than enough health, I think.
To the tune of 1.5%. Communication services were also up 0.8. Discretionary was lower on the day as well. You had Tesla down almost 3%.
Not a chance, dude.
Eking out just a fractional gain there. In fact, among the Mac 7, you had Google, which was just on the line to the upside. It came off the high as well.
We have way too many, dude.
Flip-flopping throughout the course of the day. In fact, started the day off higher, came off a bit, and then once we got this Sam Altman, Elon Musk news and that whole sideshow as people have been describing it.
How about this guy?
Once that was removed, we actually saw a little pickup in Microsoft as well, remembering that that had been named as a defendant in the suit. So that's what happened with the Mac 7 and technologies. Utilities were slightly higher, so was real estate up 1.2%. We're getting pending home sales out just tomorrow for more of that information and updates. But obviously speaking to a lot of real estate guests today, the situation doesn't look like it's improving all that much.
Garen is top lane. I'll fix it.
Coming out today by the way of NAHP, and things are picking up.
I should be able to get the BT item for the shield soon.
Up 1.3%. Energy, as KG pointed out there, 2% higher on the day as we continue to see WTI and Brent tracking in triple digits.
He's not showing up anymore.
Healthcare was up on the day as well, 0.4%. So let's bring Marley and KG back to the conversation. I'm just wondering what you made of the chip trade, KG, because I'm just wondering, you know, it's all very well that when technology seems to be
I'm going to get the item now. I think we can possibly go for Baron as well.
Technology is down. We see the sensitivity. Well, what does that say about semiconductor stocks?
We could start Baron right now. Honestly, at this point, I don't know how we could possibly lose this game. I know that Lucian is like he's basically old.
And a lot of these stocks can come back and
however, as long as we don't make a mistake right now, I find it difficult to lose this game.
Still really be in place. What we did see on Friday was really a liquidation type of moment or a distribution moment for this industry to continue throughout today's session. Now, there has been a pair.
Let's see if we can help my team out.
It's really simple. We had hardware touching a bid when it comes to the semiconductor trade, especially memory. We had individuals selling out of the software trade. And if you kind of look at it, at least for today, the hardware was down.
Ranger's like starting up the Barons. It's going to help out
in today's session, and I think that this sell-off in the semiconductors continue.
I'm surprised how long this Rengar is like keeping these up for, man.
Positive influence. I think it's really simple like that. I mean, it makes it a little bit hard for the S&P 500 to continue to advance because there's been a really good leading, positive leading in the S&P and the NASDAQ, but at the end of the day,
I hope they're not going to find out
of that Paris trade, and it seems like there's a simple fix for it. Once we have an equilibrium in this market, then we'll probably see it settle out. Volatility coming in on both
kind of scared.
And then we kind of
hope he doesn't have ultimate. No, he does not have ultimate. Okay.
When it comes to the shortages and not being able to fill orders and then potential strikes is really causing a little bit of a stir. But I think this is more just a profit-taking level more than anything. A reason to sign up for this.
Just highlighted that once we get the equilibrium, I mean, I guess I wish you had a crystal ball to tell us when that's going to be, but obviously something that potentially could upset that equilibrium or continue to balance. We've got NVIDIA coming this week, and I've had several guests say to me that they think once we hear from NVIDIA, we are setting up for the sell in May and go away. Everyone's just waiting for that. They're sort of pushing it down the line. As you look at the technical setup for both NVIDIA and for the broader market, you know, what are you seeing there? Are we perhaps in for a macro correction? The sell in May is just coming a few weeks.
I can heal up on the way. That's okay.
Well, I think if you're looking at NVIDIA in the last 3 earnings announcements, it has not been bullish for equities. And in fact, if you look at NVIDIA 7 days after they reported earnings, the stock has been down. And so I think the market is probably preparing for that type of reaction as well.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much of that is going to going to the ratings. It seems like they're kind of trading in their own lane.
We got absolutely deleted.
I have a question
Yeah, he's unfortunately almost full build. He has the same amount of items like me at the moment.
Bottom line,
That's the problem.
once again, and really, the market probably
I actually was feeding like 1,000 gold, so it's certainly going to make the match like way more difficult. I should have had a roll for it. I missed it.
winners on the last couple of quarters, and I would not be surprised
If I sell the Berserk Race right now, I can actually go for my next item, and I think I probably can. I'll go for the Runans build.
Which had a really good day today, up about 1% or so.
So we can get like
if you're looking at the longer term time frame
attack speed itself
it does
back.
appear that it wants to kind of break down and have a pretty decent correction.
So now
it just
all we
depends on
need
how much that's going to have
is one single potion. That's it. We just want to have the 80 potion.
Yeah, it's interesting just around the timing of the chip sell-off. I mean, I heard one view that maybe it was because
we've
we
got
got
the
nothing
team
from the
on the
Trump
Drake.
meeting. So,
Nice.
I mean, basically it was just nothing left
we
to
go,
chase
man.
as far as, no reason to buy. Because, I mean, we got no deliveries from
Let's
any tech
do
deals
this.
or, neither president walked away with anything really substantial. So maybe, as you say, just obviously
Also,
the run-up that we've
we
seen
have
some
to level
profit
20
taking
now.
here. How are you thinking about the macro with these
I
high
don't
yields
know
right
if
now? I mean,
there's
people
vision.
have been saying like 450, 460 is kind of the danger zone on the 10-year as far as damping the movement. There seems to be a very big debate out there as
think it's
to,
safe to say
whether this
Fizz
stops
will,
the
like,
AI
try
and
to
CapEx
drop
trade in its
ultimately.
tracks or not right now, KG. And I don't suspect you have the answer, but I mean, how are you putting all the macro data
Yeah,
together
I wasn't
right
sure
now?
if this was actually going to jump into me.
Interest rates moving higher, I don't think has an impact on CapEx spend from the hyperscalers. They have enough money in order to kind of compensate, and a lot of them are really not. I mean, some
We should be able to win this.
Getting into the debt markets, but I don't think it's going to have a meaningful impact when it comes to the long-term spend and the trajectory. And that's kind of evident by Google Alphabet that did raise their CapEx guidance by about $25 billion or so. And I think
The jungle got away too.
It's just because memory prices
Really?
went higher. I mean, they have the cash on
Okay,
hand
we
in
can get
order
more
to
damage now. We have the 80 potion as well.
Two thoughts about it. I think
Yeah, the Lucian is maxed out in builds. He has every single item right now.
4.6.
However, we also got level 20, and we got a potion which I guess like we didn't have before, so we actually do more damage now this time around.
I think that's probably why you did see that rotation trade into financials, into staples.
I hope he's not going first. Oh, it's just support. Never mind.
Dominion deal here. Maybe a turn top when it comes to.
I don't know if Caden can fix it.
You would hope so. And if not, we see a breakdown. Unfortunately, you can accelerate very aggressively. And I think the macro data, especially looking at China, is a little bit concerning. Industrial production coming in lighter than the streets expectations. Retail sales coming in lighter than the streets expectations. Pretty much at levels that we saw back in 2022, 2023. And that's not really a good sign. We're still seeing some demand destruction.
We get
in
the
energy
Drake, man.
complex because prices
That's
are
our
moving
main
higher,
priority
as well
right
as the
now.
supply chains are
And
kind of
after we
being
get
built
Drake,
up
we
here.
go
So I
mid
think
lane,
we're
and
probably at that
hopefully we
inflection
will win
point
the
over
match
the next
then.
couple of weeks here, where the data might turn over and look a little bit worse around the globe, and that might also put pressure on yields, not only here in the United States, but around the world. And we're seeing that already in the UK, you name it.
Can
Any
lose
yield
this.
right now for any major economy is moving higher.
KG, we're going to have to leave it there for today, but really appreciate you being with us for the closing panel today. Kevin Green, coming
I'm
up
fine.
next, we're going
I'm
to
fine. I
focus
should
on
be.
how AI is reshaping market leadership and where it's showing up on the sector level. That's next on Market Unclosed.
I need to walk closer to me. I gotta heal something. Let me just push back my mouse.
I'm Kevin Green, and I track options flow daily. I identify
your
who's
damage is
buying,
so
who's selling, how it's gonna
unbelievably
impact
massive
the
right now.
Watch live on Schwab Network.
So impossible for the enemy team, bro. It is so impossible for
From the
them.
most iconic trading floor in the world, this is Opening Bell with Nicole Petalides, live on the floor of the New York Stock
We are
Exchange. The countdown,
mega
the
strong.
setups, the stories that make markets move. Minute by minute breakdown of the biggest headlines, earnings,
right, let's see what we
global
can do.
movers. Just the trades that matter. As the bell hits and the markets react in real
We'll
time.
push two waves at the same time.
Opening Bell, live at the NYSE, right when it counts.
Trading at Schwab is powered by Ameritrade.
No, I got stuck by the CC, dude. No.
Connect with the Schwab Trade Desk. Our team of
They have
passionate
such an
traders
annoying
ready to
team because
tackle
if I
your
want to
trading
like
questions.
all in the enemy team, I have to first think about Fizz every time.
Plus, get 24/7
And then
live
secondly,
help.
Lucian actually
Access
gets to delete me
support.
faster.
Email
So technically, Lucian is stronger here without a setup, and Fizz also deletes me every single time. Oh, and by the way, they also have a jungle going like that, so I have to deal with 3 people constantly.
From tech to energy,
I guess that's like the biggest issue.
Right now.
Clear analysis and forward-looking market coverage every trading day.
This is a make-or-break level for this stock.
Okay, if my team doesn't die right now, I will teleport to their base and I will end the match.
Next Gen Investing, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Only on Schwab Network.
Okay, 5 seconds. Teleport, 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 teleport.
You know, you could have done.
Okay, Garen is a joke for me, man.
Same goes for where you invest. Level up and invest smarter with Schwab.
Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm Sam Bartels alongside Molly Caden over in Chicago. Joining me now here at the floor of the New York Stock Exchange is Suresh Batra, CIO of Rain. Suresh, thanks so much for joining us and stopping by today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We were just having a discussion, my colleagues and I, around the chip trade. I mean, obviously, AI leadership right now has, obviously been back in the driver's seat as far as these all-time highs. People have been concerned around the narrowness of the market. We've been talking about dispersion. What's your sense of what we're
this
seeing
is
right
Ash
now?
Toppling. Thank you for watching today's Ash Toppling video. I'll see you guys next time.
So the gap between the top 20% of the market and the bottom 20% of the market in terms of price performance is approaching about 100% on a trailing 12-month basis. We've seen these levels historically in the great financial crisis coming out of COVID, but right now investors are obviously trying to figure out who are the immediate beneficiaries of the AI era, who are the ones that are going to be left behind, and trying to bucket them accordingly.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as you say, the S&P 500, for just an example, hit a record last week with 10% of the index at a 52-week low. Have you seen something like that before? And what does that indicate? What does that tell you about the market?
Yeah, look, in some ways it is a narrow market. I think one thing that's interesting is when you look at
the Spurs playing OKC, them niggas cheating.
We're actually seeing the most expensive parts of the market become a little bit cheaper.
Nigga just went flawless Milo.
We've seen the dispersion, or I should say the intersection of consumer staples and technology stocks.
Right. And I think what's happening right now is AI is moving at such a rapid pace. The technology is developing
flawless Milo, man.
Long-term
niggas can't take that shit from me.
Really rich valuation companies that people assume would grow really, really fast forever. You can't assume that anymore. And so you're seeing the valuation of those companies come down.
Right.
And you're seeing other companies that have more to gain from AI adoption. They weren't getting much credit anyway for long-term growth. You're seeing their valuation multiples hold in.
I still feel like we're in an environment where we're rewarding those who create the AI tech companies, more than the companies and the sectors that it's supposed to be designed to benefit and improve, right?
I think right now we're rewarding those that are seeing benefits from AI today, right now. And so part of that is just earnings growth, right? So the sectors that have done really, really well have seen phenomenal earnings growth. So
can you give some examples?
Semis, right? Obviously, memory, hardware, energy has seen revisions upwards based on the oil shock. And so any sector that is performing well right now, you're seeing performance be very, very good. I'd say for all those sectors, valuation has actually come in. It's actually compressed. Other sectors that are holding up well are consumer staples, are food and beverage, tobacco. Sectors that don't have that AI risk, but potentially have some margin expansion. They're seeing valuations come up, and they're actually holding up much better in this environment right now.
Okay, but what about other sectors, like, for instance, where you want to see efficiencies, where you and I in our everyday lives want to feel the impact of artificial intelligence that's actually improving the way we go about our business, like healthcare, financials, services that we use. Are we starting to see that yet?
Absolutely. And look, investors are already starting to get in front of it, right? So you're seeing traditional incumbents like in the brokerage industry, in industries where human intelligence was scarce and was able to command a premium. You're seeing those sectors really struggle right now because the assumption, for instance, with financial services and providing advice for a fee, the assumption is that the advice is going to cost a lot less to produce. That's what companies like Range is obviously doing. And if you're going to do that, the assumption is that the consumer will benefit from that. Those price savings will eventually transfer to the consumer. And so a lot of those companies are private, which is why the private market continues to expand. And a lot of those AI leaders are private today. And the public markets, we're seeing a handful of companies that are building the tools for AI, but currently still waiting to see who the adopters are, who the beneficiaries are.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's just my observation of what we're seeing in the market. As far as rewarding the companies that are doing the AI rather than those that are actually improving our everyday lives just yet. I mean, as far as the efficiencies that we see. But I just want to talk about the other side and, who is investing and how they are investing, because you're seeing trends as far as millennial investors versus how their baby boomer parents may have invested around AI. I mean, it's just such an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
So what are you seeing there?
It's completely different, right? So you start with even the problems that these two cohorts face, and our member base, our client base, really is focused on the high net worth millennials, and the way that they made their money is completely different from the baby boomer generation. So the baby boomers, they accumulated money through stock price compounding and real estate. We're seeing millennials, they've accumulated money through stock options. They're accumulating money through small businesses. They're accumulating money through entrepreneurship. And so they have completely different problems. A lot of those problems were typically the problems of millionaires or billionaires, right, that had varied sources of incomes and a lot of complexity. Now we're seeing these millennials demand advice for that complexity, and they're just kind of coming into that high net worth segment. And so serving those people is completely different than the traditional wealth management industry is, in the ways that they've done it before. We're seeing right now that cohort is also much more technologically demanding, and so they want to be able to co-pilot their investments. They want to be able to participate in their plan and how the wealth creation strategy actually evolves for their household. They're very averse to fees. They're highly scrutinizing of fees, and so you have to find different ways to make sure that they're better off and that you can actually make a business model that makes sense for you.
It's making you work harder, isn't it?
I think for the incumbents it is, because I think that the business for the incumbents has been built on that 1% AUM fee model. I think for innovators that can find ways to deliver that value with an AI-first mindset, with a technology-first mindset, it actually is becoming easier because the value proposition is there, and it's never been there in this way before, and you can kind of create the business to make sense for delivering it at the cost that makes sense for the consumer and at a price that's really competitive in the market.
So you sound pretty bullish on AI. I mean, what about softwares, just as a whole? I mean, do you think that entire SaaS-pocalypse type trade was a bit overdone, or do you think there's merit in some of it?
Look, public markets tend to overshoot, but they usually get the direction of travel right. And so software is a great example of a sector that forever was perceived to have great growth, great margins, and really strong predictability of revenues. When it comes to AI now, with tools like Claude Code, our developers are building things that we could have never imagined every week, every month, every quarter. So building software is easier than it's ever been. So investors have to question, maybe the growth is going to be a little bit lower. Maybe the margins are going to be a little bit lower. Maybe the revenues are going to be a little bit less predictable. So I think the margin, the multiple has certainly come in.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very hard for that multiple to come back. I don't see it coming back near term.
I wanted to ask you that, if you would see the multiples getting back up to those levels that we saw. I mean, we've completely run out of time. Taresh, thank you for joining us. But I mean, it's just so fascinating as far as that kind of reset we've seen in softwares. But investors are starting to engage a little bit more with them now. We're starting to see that rotation. Taresh Batra, thank you so much for joining us. The CIO of Range there. Marley, I'll send things back over to you in Chicago.
Thanks so much, Sam. Up next, we are going to close out the show with our final takeaways and what we are watching for tomorrow. Market on Close will be right back.
It's still down a bit. Oh, goodness.
For instant reactions, earnings breakdowns, and hot takes that teach you about stocks and markets, follow me on X at @NPetalides and connect with me, Nicole Petalides, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
This is Fast Market, built for traders who want more than just headlines.
We walk you through trade ideas with structure, risk management, and a focus on execution.
From options to earnings to volatility trades, we bring decades of trading experience to every segment.
With real-time insight across products and sectors, we deliver what active traders need to stay ahead. Fast Market, weekdays at noon Eastern, live on Schwab Network at schwabnetwork.com.
She looks like you, Dad.
Aw, she's got your smile.
Carl.
Yep. The #1 brokers here welcome your new little dependent.
Actually, we invest with Schwab now. They have everything we need all in one place.
I can set up her college fund.
I've been learning about new trading strategies.
Schwab helps me generate retirement income.
All this Schwab is everything you need is making me cranky.
Does somebody need a nap?
Invest your way with Schwab.
I'm Nicole Petalides, live at the New York Stock Exchange, and this is the Watch List. Your midday view into the trends driving the markets with a sharp focus on on technology, innovation, and companies leading the next wave of growth. Big movers, real-time interviews, and insight from analysts, founders, and market voices you trust. The Watch List, 2 p.m. Eastern, only on Schwab Network.
So much Stay connected to what moves the market. Download the Schwab Network app and stream anytime wherever you are.
Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm Marley Caden here in Chicago alongside Sam Bottas at the New York Stock Exchange. We'll close out our show with some final thoughts on the session today. For me, Bitcoin extending its slide today, hitting a 2-week low as it dropped down below the 76,000 level amid a broader retreat in risk assets. The leading cryptocurrency is facing downward pressure as investors recalibrate their expectations for interest rates following last week's higher than expected inflation data. The retreat in prices triggered a wave of long liquidations, accelerating the short-term technical sell-off. In just the last 24 hours, Bitcoin saw a massive wave of forced selling as investors wiped out more than $182 million in positions, most of which were bullish, leveraged bets that the price would rise. We did regain a little bit of territory in Bitcoin, though. We are above 77,000 now. But also happening in the crypto space today, Bitcoin Depot, which was once the largest crypto ATM operator in North America, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The company says that its business model is now, quote-unquote, unsustainable amid lawsuits and mounting regulatory pressure. And shifting gears here, but a massive legal battle could be brewing in the pre-IPO market as AI giant Anthropic attempts to completely freeze the secondary trading of its shares. The company has taken the unprecedented step of explicitly naming 8 major private market platforms like Hive, declaring that any unauthorized transaction on them to be legally void. This aggressive crackdown is sending shockwaves through the venture capital ecosystem, threatening to lock up billions of dollars in liquidity for early investors and employees who are hoping to cash out before a rumored fall IPO. For retail and accredited investors who thought that they bought a piece of this popular AI startup, the move creates severe counterparty risk, leaving them holding synthetic contracts that Anthropic refuses to recognize on its official books. The founder of Hive, one of the secondary trading platforms that was called out specifically by Anthropic, has already come out saying that his company only facilitated deals that had Anthropic's approval. Now, with IPOs expected from Anthropic, OpenAI, and SpaceX this year, this is likely just the beginning of us talking about this booming shadow stock market, Sam, and all the potential legal implications that are coming into play now. But what stuck out to you today on the session?
I was about to say, Marley, I mean, all three seem to have had high drama associated with, the last couple of months heading into these IPOs. But yes, look, mine was a little bit more macro focused. We've obviously seen this global repricing of rates and Fed expectations. Market guru Ed Yardeni, for instance, saying the macro backdrop no longer supports an easing bias. He expects the FOMC to signal a tightening bias at the June meeting and a rate hike at the July meeting, adding he can't rule out more hikes over the rest of the year, but he still sticks by his 8250 year-end target for the S&P 500, which has largely been predicated on these strong earnings. Meantime, Mike Wilson over at Morgan Stanley believes stocks are at risk of a pullback as we see the bond sell-off threatening to derail the tech rally. His team says if longer-dated yields keep rising, they'd expect the first meaningful correction in equity prices since markets bottomed in late March. Now, higher rates aren't expected to help the rebound in the housing market. We've spoken about that earlier, but even with elevated mortgage rates, higher gas prices, and economic uncertainties, the latest data from NAHB shows builder confidence is picking up, albeit marginally. But the reports show the housing market still remains soft as long-term interest rates are expected to continue to hold back home buyer demand. Marley, heading into tomorrow, what are you going to be looking out for?
I'll be looking for Home Depot's earnings, Sam, getting another look into some of those builders and sentiment overall. They'll be in the earnings spotlight tomorrow morning. Wall Street expecting a modest revenue bump of about 4% to $41.5 billion. However, sticky housing headwinds are projected to pressure the bottom line. Consensus estimates calling for earnings per share to dip down to $3.41. And of course, Home Depot has been under pressure this year. They're trading down almost 13% so far this year. Sam, how about you?
Yeah, I'm doing my bit, Marley. As a new home owner, I've been spending every weekend at Home Depot, but maybe it's just me. Look, obviously we're going to get macro data that's going to support a lot of what we hear from Home Depot's commentary, because obviously we are looking for that meaningful spring home buying rebound that we haven't quite seen yet, and so more evidence of that by the way of pending home sales. As I mentioned, we got some encouraging data out today, but let's see if we start to see those sales picking up as well. And then, of course, we've got some jobs data on the horizon as well with ADP. For now, I mean, we're in this sort of low hire, low fire, even though we continue to hear day after day of further corporate layoffs. It just really hasn't been showing up in the data all that much just yet, and that is very much showing that basically the labour market remains stable, and that is good news, at least for the Fed for now, Marley, because it allows them to have that wiggle room and that headroom as they focus on the inflation side of the dual mandate, which I suppose there's a global acknowledgement right now that perhaps is looking a little bit sticky, and the Fed could be on hold for longer, or if you ask Ed Yardeni, could even be hiking in the next 2 months. So I think the data is going to be very closely scrutinised to see where the economy is at right now.
Certainly, I had Chris Ward from Entry Point Wealth on Trading 360 earlier, and he said one job he would not want right now is Kevin Warsh's. So certainly not an easy path going forward for the Fed. But that's going to do it for us today on Market on Close. For Sam Bottas, I'm Marley Caden. Be sure to download our Schwab Network app, available in the Apple App Store, and tune in 24/7 on schwabnetwork.com. Also, don't forget to check out our new podcast, Market Matters with Marley Caden. We go live in a half hour, so subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great rest of your Monday.
Welcome to Schwab Network, where real-time market coverage meets expert strategy.
From the opening bell to the closing bell, we've got you covered.
Get inside the minds of pro traders.
My point is that they're getting a higher rate of change in sales based on their guidance, but not the same rate of change on EPS.
Follow the biggest headlines, live analysis, breaking news, and sharp trade ideas minute by minute.
With shows built for action, we break it all down in real time with speed, accuracy, and precision.
I think one of the most important things is you're making a play in a risk-defined way here going into earnings.
So that would be a further downside area to watch.
Insights, actionable data, and trusted financial journalists. Streaming live and on demand.
Schwab Network, streaming 24/7, any screen, anywhere, free. Schwab Network.
Wherever that came from.
Schwab Bank Investor Checking, the checking account built for investors. Named highest in client satisfaction by J.D. Power for 7 years in a row. With Investor Checking, you get the award-winning features of our checking account, plus cash management solutions, all designed for investors like you, with unlimited ATM fee rebates for cash withdrawals worldwide, no overdraft fees, and enhanced security features to keep your money safe. Also, because your Investor Checking account is linked to your Schwab One brokerage account, you can manage your checking and investing in one convenient location. Moving funds between your accounts is easy. Cash moved to your brokerage account is available in seconds. That means you can stop waiting and start investing in stocks, bonds, money market funds, and more. Get more with Schwab Bank Investor Checking, the checking account built for investors.
Good morning. We're 90 minutes into the trading day. Welcome to Trading 360. I'm Marley Caden, coming to you live from our Chicago headquarters. We have got a great show in store for you today. First, we'll be taking a look at Regeneron plummeting today. Shares falling after they had a failed medical trial. Then we'll be taking a closer look in our 360 round at the private equity markets, taking a look at what we might be researching and how AI is shaping things, and how an IPO from OpenAI or Anthropic may change how we look at the AI space. And then our disruptor today, ServiceNow, after B of A reinstated coverage of the software company with a buy rating and $130 price target after a 37% decline so far this year. Then in our 360 round, we're going to break down earnings from Baidu, which saw profits fall but reported huge growth in its core AI-powered business, and its Waymo competitor, Apollo Go. Before we get to that and more, though, let's take a quick look at how our markets are faring this morning. Bit of a mixed picture here. The S&P just marginally down on the day. We're at 74.028. 219. On the NASDAQ, we're 0.5% lower. We're at 28,988 right now. On the Dow, 0.25% higher, 49,645. And the Russell 2K down about 0.25%, 2786.61. As we look at the 10-year ticking higher, we're at 460 right now. The dollar, it's 99.02. Gold, we're 0.25% lower, 45.51.40 a troy ounce. Crude oil still in triple digits, 102.17 a barrel. And Bitcoin did not recapture that 80,000 mark. We are at 76,390 this morning. That's down about 3.5%. Want to bring in Alex Coffey into the conversation. Take a look at one of those names I mentioned just a moment ago. Regeneron failing its melanoma drug trial in the late stages, and now we're seeing a 10+% move to the downside. Alex, take us through this one.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a setback here on the phase 3 melanoma trial, missing what street expectations were. Its combo did not show statistically significant improvement relative to Merck's Keytruda. It's a trial that included around 1,500 patients with advanced or metastasis melanoma, and it was seen, this particular trial was seen, and this drug was seen as a key pipeline catalyst for this first half of 2026. So it's another pipeline setback for Regeneron, and as a result, it's experiencing its biggest drop since May of 2025. When you look at street reaction beyond just the stock price move, multiple downgrades, a bunch of price target cuts here, Marley. So disappointing news, not only for those who are hoping for some sort of medical breakthrough here, but also for shareholders of this company.
Yeah, I mean, and Alex, as you look at Regeneron, you pointed out, this isn't its first misstep here, which is why we're seeing such a sharp move to the downside. I saw a note from BMO Capital Markets saying this was to be the defining catalyst, and they've lost that catalyst. So a tough road ahead potentially here for Regeneron, down about 10.25% here. But Alex, thanks for taking us through that one. That's Alex Coffey, our senior equities contributor here on the network. Want to broaden out our conversation, though. Welcome in a guest. We have Chris Ward joining us in studio today, founder and senior wealth advisor at Entry Point Wealth Management. Chris, great to have you here with us. Now, as we take a look at this market action, at the top of the show we were mixed. Now we're entirely in the red. What are your thoughts on what we've been seeing over the last, let's call it 8 weeks or so, as we've been dealing with the situation in Iran, getting increased inflation numbers?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, last 8 weeks, tech stocks have dominated, right? The XLK is up 30% since March 31st. And so as an investor, we need to be invested in those markets and have positions. But at the same time, I think we're seeing a divergence. We're living in a world where inflation is high, and we're trying to manage expenses and interest rates and everything that comes at consumers. But at the same time, Wall Street has a massive amount of momentum. And so it's the ability to digest some of these high interest rates and be able to continue to see the growth continue. I'm looking forward this week, right? We have a massive opportunity on Wednesday afternoon to see that growth continue with NVIDIA's earnings.
And so as we look at NVIDIA, there was a guest on the prior program that said sort of the expectation from his viewpoint, some of the whispers he's hearing, is that they have to beat and raise by more than they did last quarter. And the raise last time was about 10.5% better than what was projected. Are you in that same camp that it can't just be good, it can't just be great, it has to be even better than last time's great?
Well, if you remember, the last time I was actually on around NVIDIA's earnings was the first time you and I spoke.
Yes, it was.
It's an interesting thing. I read a report from Goldman over the weekend. They expect NVIDIA to beat earnings, right? I don't really call earnings announcements with specific companies, but the idea is to position yourself for that positive outcome. And there's just so much momentum in the technology space that I think we should expect those companies, not just NVIDIA, but other tech companies, to lead and carry forward the earnings announcements. They missed in January. So hopefully the guidance has put them in a position to where they can excel and give investors something to write home about.
So let's say we see another miss. We don't get what the street is looking for here. We don't get what Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan and several others are forecasting right now. If NVIDIA disappoints even slightly in this quarter, does it kill all of that momentum we've seen in tech of late, or is it possible for the rest of tech to ride on the earnings we've gotten from the other big names?
Yeah. No, I think there's more momentum than just NVIDIA, right? I think you look at the SpaceX IPO on its way. You just mentioned the Anthropic IPO potentially. There's so much ingenuity coming through the system that I think if it's not in the next 4 to 6 weeks that we continue this rally, we pick it up midsummer or we pick it up into the fall. I will mention that if we do see negativity through the earnings season, right, we see higher interest rates, it makes investors pause on the valuations for companies. I recommend clients definitely branch out. Get yourself some energy exposure. Go buy XLE. Go buy some energy stocks. Make sure you have that bifurcated move environment, because if tech falls and the Iran war continues, now we're in an environment where energy prices stay high. That's profits for those companies. So you need to be on both sides of the table. And then the last thing that I do want to add as well is I'm working hard to really talk to clients about managing interest rate risk, right? We see the 10-year Treasury pushing 4.6. It's higher than it was Friday. It's in a one-way trend. And so if you're a client that's just invested in bonds and you just have run-of-the-mill aggregate bond market exposure, you need to branch out. You need to look at maybe some floating rate. Could be EFR, could be SRLN are two symbols to go take a look at to give yourself some divergence or some diversity, and also to reduce the risk of interest rates reducing the principal in your bond portfolio.
Okay, so staying away from our traditional fixes, as you said, we are north of 4.6 right now. We're fast approaching 4.61. Actually, we're 100% away here. But as we look at that, and you want to stay in a floating rate to protect yourself, you also have energy as a hedge here. Are you looking at energy as a hedge because of geopolitics? Is it inflation protection, or confidence that just demand is simply going to stay strong even though we have elevated prices?
I think it's two reasons, right? First, as a consumer myself, I hate having to spend so much at the pump, right? I was here, I flew in today in Chicago. It's like $6. In Cincinnati, it's $4.80, right? So at least we don't have it as rough as you might have it. But as a consumer, it's on one hand trying to manage the inflation risk. The other side of it is definitely geopolitical. I don't see an easy resolution to the Iran conflict. So then you have to ask yourself, what does happen? And so those companies don't have to manage risks of handling rising prices, passing on prices to consumers, and how that affects their business. They're going to be able to insulate themselves, deliver the product, and in essence, actually make more the longer this thing continues to go on.
And the longer this thing continues to go on, and I have to sympathize with you over filling up my gas tank, because we have our other hosts are in New York. We interview so many people from New York, and I know they don't have cars. And I'm just here like, oh, it hurts me every single time we talk about gas prices. Each week hurts more and more. But as we look at this, and more people now saying, we don't know where the end is. Before, people were pricing an end, and now it's just sort of, we hope it ends soon, or perhaps it goes through the summer. Let's say that happens. You've got energy as a hedge here. We know that we've seen the rate environment heavily in flux and seemingly moving higher, even with some down days. Where else are you seeing opportunities here, either in specific spaces, or, we talk a lot about the cascade effects or the ripple effects we're going to see even after we get an ending. Where else do you see potential opportunities, or on the flip of that, where are you staying away from?
Exactly, yeah. Retail businesses, right? My wife and I are entrepreneurs, and we have some retail businesses. Being able to pass on costs to a consumer that's already dealing with high interest rates, right? I don't want to be the Fed president either in this environment. That's one thing I don't want to do. But you got the high interest rates, high gas prices, and now everything's getting more expensive. So if you're a company trying to pass on those costs to others, it gets really difficult. And if you can't pass on costs, that means your earnings go down. That means your stock price goes down. So I think it's really an interesting time. Not to say that this trend can't continue in technology. I'm not trying to say that, because I'm not going to fight the trend, because I'm a trend-following investor. But we have to be prepared, right? And so we have a base case of how we see the economic environment. And yes, it's challenging. But at the same time, this is where Main Street does not equal Wall Street. And so some of this innovation and some some of this AI adoption can definitely carry earnings to a higher level. So I think you kind of have to be ready for both outcomes. That's why we're positioned in technology and energy. We own both. And so you have to kind of understand what the opportunity might be.
Yeah, nimble is a word that keeps coming up in my conversations. You have to be nimble right now. You have to be paying attention to the headlines as much as we don't like how much it's driving the markets. But I guess that'll bring me to my last question here. From your vantage point, are we still in fundamentally a bull market, or are we simply in a momentum-driven rally that's becoming increasingly dependent on a handful of names and some of the geopolitics?
Yeah, I'll answer that real easy. Okay. What would the market be doing if we are not in this conflict environment, right? We are going not to the moon, but we're in a strong bull market environment. And I think that, politically, we're trying to get to lower interest rates. We're trying to get to good tax policy that will stimulate the economy, and we've done that part of it. But we've kind of taken two steps back, right? Because now we have this Iran conflict to manage and try to figure out what we do. And that's what's setting us back with higher energy prices, higher inflation, potentially Fed policy that's not going to be accommodative to continue to allow that growth to continue.
Chris, really appreciate you joining us in studio today. Thanks for flying in for this one. Always more fun to have you here with us than opposed to on Zoom. Really appreciate it. And great talk, some great insight there from Chris Ward, founder of Entry Point Wealth Management. And don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more coming your way on Trading 360 today. The big three, of course, coming up next. 3 stocks, 3 charts, and 3 trades for you. Rick Ducat will take us through the technicals as always. Scott Bauer will walk us through the trades for Circle, TJX, and Palo Alto Networks. That's all next on Trading 360 on Schwab Network.
From the most iconic trading floor in the world, this is Opening Bell with Nicole Petalides, live on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. The countdown, the setups, the stories that make markets move. Minute-by-minute breakdown of the biggest headlines, earnings, global movers, just the trades that matter. As the bell hits and the markets react in real time, Opening Bell, live at the NYSE, right when it counts.
She looks like you, Dad.
Aw, she's got your smile.
Carl.
Yep. #1 brokers here to welcome you new little...
Actually, we invest with Schwab. We have everything we need all in one place.
I can set up her college fund.
I've been learning about trading strategies.
Schwab helps me generate retirement income. All this Schwab is everything you need is making me cranky.
Does somebody need a nap?
Schwab!
Invest your way with Schwab.
Trading at Schwab is powered by Ameritrade, giving you even more specialized trading support. Connect with the Schwab Trade Desk, our team of passionate traders ready to tackle your trading questions, no matter how complex. Plus, get 24/7 live help and access support by phone, email, and platform.
Last year, my dad had a stroke. Big shock to see this person that I've always seen as a force in our family be vulnerable.
Wait, had a stroke?
Yes. Now we're in the car together almost daily. I started to realize, what can I pick up from my dad? He's been with Schwab for a long time.
Jim's my financial consultant. I probably met 20 years ago.
Jim's really been there to answer any questions I ever have. Makes a huge difference when you have someone that actually cares.
Welcome back to Trading 360. I'm Marley Caden. It's time for the big three. We've got 3 stocks, 3 charts, and 3 trades for you. Rick Ducat, of course, will take us through the charts. Here to take us through the trades today, Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, great to have you back on the show. Would love to get your thoughts on, how we're kicking off a new trading week here. We opened the show a bit of a mixed bag, but now we're pretty firmly in the red here.
Yeah, overnight there was some caution. We were in the red, and we got back in the green a little bit here on some of the news that was coming out geopolitically, and then just over the last half an hour or so, we got some news that Iran's response probably was not what the markets wanted to hear, and here we are. But we're in the red, but the VIX is pretty unchanged. I mean, it's up a tick or two here, so everything is still still hinging on what is the news coming out of the Middle East, especially since we're, really at the tail end of earnings season. We do have some big retailers, but it's really what's happening geopolitically.
And Scott, before we dive into the big three, I have to check on you. Are you okay? I see we've got an ouchie.
Yeah, it's all good. It's one of those accidents with a dog. It's all good.
All right, as long as everybody's doing well, we can dive into big three here. Circle, your first pick. Circle down on the day, a little more than the markets. We're down more than 4% right now. So why Circle?
I really like it for a couple reasons. Technically, it just had a golden cross. What is a golden cross? That's when the 50-day moving average crosses above the 200-day moving average. So I really like that here. And ever since its IPO, it's had its ups, it's had its downs, but I really like that. So I'm going out about a month and I'm buying just a simple call spread, the 115, 125 call spread. When I sent this to you, it was trading around $3. It's probably slightly less right now. I do like the upside there, but of course, this one's pretty tied to crypto.
Yeah, of course. And as we look at Bitcoin, lower, they can't seem to recapture that 80,000 mark. Every time it pops up, I look, I think we're right around 76,000 right now. Rick, as you take a look at Circle and the technical setup here, I see we have some converging lines.
Yes, that's true. More of a symmetrical triangle type of pattern. But what I wanted to focus on first, around 124 is where I had a line marked here, similar to that 125 strike area. The reason is it was a repeated low point during that range-bound area, around where we hit some trouble here in terms of forming new highs, and that's around where we topped out again more recently. So the intraday highs were a good bit beyond that point, but in terms of lasting progress above that boundary, that is a notable point where things seem to struggle. So anyway, so we do have our symmetrical triangle type shape. We've retreated back within the confines of these two lines, one going down across the highs, one going up across the lows, beginning here at 49.90, which marks our 52-week lows. Some other horizontal areas to consider, 98 and 89. The reason why, a gap level, and then repeated highs here, giving us this supportive zone that we've tested a few times recently here. So that could be an area to watch if we do start to slip once more and move further toward the downside. So when we do look here at our RSI study, our relative strength index, which gives us a read on momentum, things have started to increase to the downside more toward the bearish side. We had our lighter colored red line there, giving us a more gradual slope. More recently, though, we have a sharper trend line that you could have drawn here. However, it's a little more complicated because you also could have this upward sloping area too. So kind of matching our price activity of bouncing around in this increasingly narrowing range. However, this is often the precursor to higher volatility. Low volatility can give us these explosive breakouts when one of these well-defined boundary lines is eventually breached. So kind of interesting that we had those upside tests before retreating here. So if you were interested in more of an upside bias here, the 140 level stands out based on our volume profile study because that represents where our volume node, our heavy trading activity, would start to kind of dry up. Things pick up again here, 180 to 210. If we were to look to the downside, 8450 stands out as the point of control, the heaviest trading area of all, lining up with our supportive zone we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and Circle really outperforming the broader crypto space despite that tie. As we look at crypto over the last 6 months or so, which is close to when we saw those all-time highs, it's more than 40% higher, whereas crypto, depending on which you're looking at, anywhere from 15 to 50% lower. So Circle tied to it, but performing well despite some of these downward moves we've seen in the crypto space. Your next pick here also performing well, Scott. We're talking about TJX, very resilient in this K-shaped economy, and we've got earnings coming on Wednesday. Is that why they're part of the big three?
Absolutely. This is absolutely an earnings play, and I love these lower end or budget sorts of retailers, like you said, especially with this K-shaped economy here. So I think TJX, Costco, Walmart, and we've got Target, these stocks are all in vogue right now. But what I really like about TJX is it trades right down to its 200-day moving average going into the earnings print here. So I'm buying what's called a diagonal call spread. So I'm selling this week's up above the 155 strike call. I'm buying next week's 150 strike call. So two different expirations, a 150, 155 vertical call spread, and I'm looking to pay about $2 for that.
All right, and as we look at the technical setup here for TJX as we go into earnings, Rick, I see we've got a downward sloping channel, but what are you seeing in terms of the levels you're keeping an eye on?
Sure, and 150 stands out to me as well. The reason why is it was a notable low point from our previous price history. That's about where price is today, though, so that would be possibly an interesting breakout point to consider as well. As you said, though, Marley, a downward sloping channel type shape. We have our highs here, 165.82, connecting these subsequent highs in this area. If you were to duplicate that line and put it across the lows, it fits up pretty cleanly here to give us this channel type shape. So this is something you can use to try to project potential support and resistance here. Other than that, not a whole lot of clear areas of potential support, or excuse me, resistance to the upside here. You could say around here near 153 marks another low, but up here 158 to 160 roughly, another resistance zone here characterized by our repeated stopping points for price to the upside and consolidation here. So possibly to consider. 146 also to the downside, another notable low point here. That's also where we bottomed out here more recently. When we do consider our moving averages that we follow, we can see that our 251-day EMA, our long-term exponential moving average representing 1 year, was supportive recently. Price is now bouncing above our 5-day weekly EMA in dark blue, which comes in near 149. So if we were to keep moving upward, the next test would be our 21-day monthly EMA 153 in teal there, which would also represent a breakout from our channel. RSI improving here. We saw a little bit of bullish divergence where even as price made a lower close, RSI was trending upward. We also find ourselves out of the oversold area now. So if we had a bullish outlook, look for this trend to keep continuing and push above that 50 midline. So now our volume profile shows that we are still within this relatively smaller node here between about 147 to 151. If we keep moving upward, the point of control, the heaviest trading area of all, comes in at 156. That's our thick red line here. So that would be the area the bulls would want to recapture and eventually push above. That's the most pronounced area of heavy trading for this chart here as we see it based on this study.
All right, and of course we'll hear from the TJX companies on Wednesday ahead of NVIDIA. But as we move to your last pick here, we've got momentum really on the side here for Palo Alto, particularly over the last month or two as I look at the chart. Take us through what is your last pick of the big three.
I love this stock. I absolutely do, but I think it has run too far too quickly. Earnings are on June 2nd, few weeks out, so this position is not earnings related. This will expire before that. I am selling a slightly bearish iron condor, meaning that I'm looking for a bit of a consolidation here ahead of earnings. So I'm selling next week's 225, 220 put spread on the downside, and next week's 250, 255 call spread on the upside. I'm looking to collect $2.50 for that. So again, a little bit of a bearish tilt to it just because the call spread I'm selling is closer to being where the stock is right now, and just looking for some consolidation going into earnings.
All right, Rick, and as we look at the technical setup here as we go into earnings, those coming June 2nd for Palo Alto Networks, what are you seeing? I mean, there's that run-up we were talking about.
Yes, 8 days of pretty strong gains that we've seen here, topping out at 247.98 for our intraday highs. The area between 220 and 225 also stood out to me. That's because that was around where we had these old prior highs. That's where we had not really much of a pause, but that if we were to pull back, that would be a notable area to look for potential support. So the speed and ferocity of this run up hasn't really given us a lot of other opportunities to look for potential foothold yields. One other area that stands out is just this gap level all the way down here near 191, but that's far away enough at this point that probably wouldn't enter the calculations for most folks. So when we do look at our moving averages, our 5-day EMA in dark blue has mirrored our very rapid ascent here. 234 is where that one comes in. If it were to be breached to the downside, that lines up with our channel boundary line here, so that would also give us a bit of a confluence there. When you have more than one technical indicator lining up in the same spot, the eventual possible breakout can be stronger then because there's multiple sets of eyes watching different indicators that are aligning here. RSI, our measure of momentum, showing quite a strong reading, 86.5. Anything above 80 is characterized as being a fairly extreme rating. And remember, RSI only goes from 0 to 100, so 86.5 is not something that you see too commonly. That's a very strong momentum view for this indicator here. Now, just to focus on the past 3 months of our volume activity, to give us a more granular look, we can see that there's a small pocket of activity here, 230, 240, another node here when we had this peak around 210 to 215. Finally down here, 193 to 200. Those are the more notable trading activity areas based on this very short-term time horizon to try to make more sense of support during this extreme push to the upside.
All right, and right now Palo Alto trading up almost 1% today, 245.08 as we look at them in advance of their earnings again coming up the first week in June. Scott, I want to thank you for being with us today for Big Three. Scott Bauer and of course Rick Decatur, lead market technician, for taking us through the technicals. Coming up next, we are going to spotlight private equity and its exposure to AI. Companies like Anthropic and OpenAI as the market eagerly awaits their public debuts. Trading 360 will be right back.
Stay connected to what moves markets. Download the Schwab Network app and get live coverage wherever you are.
Hey, Dad, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When did Granddad first start investing?
Granddad had an account with Schwab before the branches in the earth. He really started with nothing. He worked hard, and after he passed away, the torch has been passed to me, and my advisor, Jennifer, she was with me with the journey, helping with the estate and 2 grandchildren, planning for their college educations. Someday it'll be their turn.
Sometimes, you know, you could
Morning movers, be the first to find out what's shaping early market action. Tech Check, Options Corner, Future in Focus, technical analysis. Morning movers covers it all. Grab your coffee and tune in every trading day at 8 a.m. Eastern, only on Schwab Network.
The win right here, bro. I'm tripping. Not fucking playing, bro. Couldn't fucking playing games from the very beginning.
It's absolutely world class. We have coaches who have been in the industry and around the industry for a long time.
We have different formats because people learn differently at different times.
We have webcasts running through YouTube all day, every trading day.
We've got events that are making their way around the country.
So you get that opportunity to share experiences and knowledge with other traders.
How incredible is that? And it's free.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Stay connected to what moves the market. Download the Schwab Network app and stream anytime wherever you are.
Welcome back to Trading 360. I'm Marley Caden, live in our Chicago headquarters. It's time to spotlight private equity and the AI boom. Joining us now, Kyle Reedhead, co-owner and head of research at Milk Road. Kyle, great to have you on the show. Now, perfect timing with you coming on in wake of Anthropic coming out last saying, you know, they've explicitly updated notice to their major names, some of these secondary markets, saying that they voided out what many people felt were shares in Anthropic. So first, just walk us through your thoughts on the latest that we're hearing from these names as we wait for these IPOs to come, and many people thought they were perhaps early investors.
Yeah, I think so. 3 of the biggest IPOs we're going to have in many, many years, OpenAI, Anthropic, and SpaceX. You can get exposure to them on secondary markets or derivative markets through things like Hyperliquid. You guys talked a little bit about crypto earlier in the show, and so there's a lot of different like tokenized ways you can get exposure to them as well. And they've gone through the roof over the last, let's call it, year as these markets have come online. But recently, Anthropic came out and said this doesn't count. Essentially, this is not, it's not real stock. So I think the markets went down to about 20-30% on that news. I think SpaceX actually came out earlier this morning or it was yesterday, but sometime in the last week anyway, that they're doing the same thing. So it's kind of an unknown on what's going to happen here with these markets. Are they going to be real or are they not? I think there's a lot of investors that thought they had early access to Anthropic before it was going to IPO, and my guess is they're probably not going to actually get exposure to that, unfortunately.
And as we watch that play out, because obviously anyone who's sunk money into this and now being told, oh, it's void, sorry, is basically the message they got. Do you anticipate there perhaps potentially being lawsuits around this? Because, I mean, there's billions of dollars tied up in this.
Yeah, these were some of the bigger, I think, secondary markets that we've seen. I would imagine there's going to be some kind of lawsuit. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to play out just yet, but I can't imagine that this is just going to go with no one saying a word. There is, as you said, a lot of volume in these. There's a lot of capital that's been put into this. It's unfortunate because probably retail is going to be the ones that get the bad stick here or the bad hand here, but I'm sure there's going to be some kind of lawsuit. But this is also just the way that markets are going in terms of, what blockchain is doing, right? Allowing you to tokenize anything, and sometimes that's a good thing. There's a lot of benefit to that. Sometimes, obviously, there's bad things, and we just need better regulation to figure that out.
And do you think some of this move is because of that regulation? Because as their IPOs are approaching, they don't want additional scrutiny from the SEC being tied into these unregulated markets?
Yeah, I would imagine so. They want as clean slate as possible as they go to IPO. These are trillion-dollar IPOs, which we haven't seen in a very long time, or if ever. And so I think they want to make sure that this goes as smooth as possible, right? This is a really big moment for AI, but obviously for these companies as well. And so they don't want any of the issues that could come along with these secondary markets.
And with the VC market, I mean, they knew AI was going to be big. They went aggressively into these markets, especially into AI, as we wait for some of these big names, but we haven't really gotten any sort of mass liquidity event yet. So a lot of that capital just tied up. How do you view that situation going forward as we're now getting some more big IPOs, but we've already got so much capital sunk into this space that's not liquid?
Yeah, well, and even worse, they've put a lot of capital into software stocks as well, or not stocks, but software equities as well, which, have been re-rated and repriced downwards over the last 6 months. And so I think there's a lot of that debt that's kind of, that's underwater right now. So I think it's a problem for sure. That said, I think these 3 IPOs is going to bring a lot of liquidity to the market, so I think that's a good thing. And they're not the only ones. There's more IPOs that are happening. I think we just had Cerebras a couple days ago, or last week, and there's going to be more throughout the year, I'm sure. So the liquidity is starting to come. We're starting to get these IPOs, but we got to get them through the door. There's been a lot of talk about these for a while now, and they just haven't come yet. So VCs, I think, are chomping at the bit, just waiting for these things to IPO.
And of course, SpaceX likely the answer here in terms of just its valuation on the sheer number alone. But as you look at this space, what are you most looking forward to in terms of the IPO? I mean, you mentioned Cerebras. Cerebras came out of nowhere. People were excited for it, but we certainly didn't think it was going to be the biggest tech IPO we'd seen since Uber on the day they debuted.
Yeah. Look, I think it's just, we're finally going to have the ability to trade these kind of like AI pure play stocks, which we haven't really had before. I've actually been comparing this a lot to, the dot-com bubble back in the day in the 90s, where we didn't really have pure play internet companies until later in the cycle. So around 97, 98, that's when they all started to IPO. And it looks like we're kind of getting the same sort of scenario here. Most of this AI bull run has been around infrastructure. Finally, we're getting the pure play AI stocks, XAI, OpenAI, Anthropic. And so I think it's good for the market. I think we can finally see their books and see what's true about their revenues, their expenses. There's a lot of speculation on what's going on if you're on X. But we want to know exactly what's going on in these companies, because they are likely going to be some of the most important companies that exist in markets for the foreseeable future. And so I think it's an important thing just for the market in general, just to understand what's actually going on here.
And you've mentioned blockchain a couple times. I know at Milk Road that you've spent an extensive amount of time studying blockchain infrastructure. So let's pivot into here. Are tokenized equities and on-chain private markets inevitable, or is the technology technology moving faster than regulation can realistically support? Because we get into these regulatory conversations, we saw certain acts just breeze through and others seem to be just butting heads at every pass.
Yeah, I mean, technology is definitely moving faster than regulation, that's for sure. I mean, stablecoins, for example, are already at $325 billion in market cap, or in supply, and we're just sort of getting our regulation around them now, at least in the U.S. And so they are way ahead. I think this stuff is definitely inevitable. You know, the market, the financial world, they want better assets, they want better services, they want to make sure that things move as fast as possible. The old traditional financial system is slow, right? It's costly, it's expensive, it has borders, and blockchain enables something that, you know, really it's like the internet allowed us to move information and put it and move it at the speed of light, and now we're doing the same thing now with financial assets with blockchain. So I think it is inevitable, but we definitely need some regulation here to clean this up and figure out what's actually going on, because everything is getting tokenized right now. It's not just stable coins, although that's probably the biggest. It's stocks, it's commodities, it's, I mean, private equity, as we just talked about. Everything is coming on chain. I think ultimately that's a good thing. I think it gives opportunity to the world. But at the same time, we do need to get some regulation because it's kind of an open box right now and anything can happen.
And I want to take a look too at ETF, the ETF wrapper, and crypto specifically, since Milk had known a lot for your newsletter tied to the crypto space. But we've seen massive growth in these spot Bitcoin ETFs. We have the team from NASDAQ on all the time to talk about ETFs and crypto constantly accelerating here. But as we're seeing, you know, people trying to diversify beyond Bitcoin and also Bitcoin prices under some pressure, where do you see the next wave of institutional capital flowing in the crypto space? Is it going to stay in Bitcoin, or are we going to see more diversification here?
I think Bitcoin will continue to do well, and I say that more long term because obviously it hasn't done so well over the last few months. I do think it will do well. I think where the institutional adoption is coming now is more in the DeFi space, and so it starts with stable coins, and then it's going to be the things that are tokenizing the assets that we use every day in the traditional finance world. And so I think stablecoin companies, you know, you guys talked about Circle earlier in the show. You know, it's done quite well over the last little while, but I think there's going to be even more things like Sky and you know, other assets within the stablecoin space, and then the DeFi protocols that are allowing you to do things with your stablecoins, right? So lending and borrowing platforms, these are the kind of things that have actually, you know, created really good products. They generate real revenues that I think TradFi can understand and wrap their heads around. And so I think Wall Street, when they start to learn about that, they're going to start to invest in these things, and that will be the diversification away from Bitcoin. So it started at Bitcoin, then it went to smart contract platforms like Ethereum and Solana. Now it's going to the applications that are actually being built on top of it. Now, there's not a lot of good ones just yet, but there are some really, really good ones that exist, and I think the market's starting to understand that.
Certainly, I mean, I remember talking about the day that crypto-backed mortgages became a thing, so definitely starting to have some understanding there. Sadly, Kyle, we've run out of time, but it has been great talking to you. I'll have to have you on again soon. Kyle Reedhead, co-owner and head of research at Milk Road. Coming up next, we've got the Disruptors. Kevin Green will be joining us to take a look at ServiceNow, which BofA reinstated with a buy rating. He'll take us through the call and also have an example trade for us next on Trading 360.
Stay connected to the markets in the Schwab Network.
Tune in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on SchwabNetwork.com
and on all your favorite streaming services.
Schwab Network, available anytime, anywhere, on any device for free.
How's it going? First day, so.
Sometimes, you know.
Next. Try it again.
Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
The same goes for where you invest. Level up and invest smarter with Schwab.
I'm Nicole Petalides, live at the New York Stock Exchange, and this is the Watch List. Your midday view into the trends driving the markets with a sharp focus on technology, innovation, and companies leading the next wave of growth. Big movers, real-time interviews, and insight from analysts, founders, and market voices you trust. The Watch List, 2 p.m. Eastern, only on Schwab Network.
Your inhibitor.
Mom, when my grandparents moved here, did they know what our family would become?
I don't even know if they could envision it, to leave everything behind, literally come across the entire world. I think that we totally met what their wishes were. Schwab has been with us for 25 years. We were purchasing up houses, opening up our business, having children. They've always been there for us.
I want to invest with companies that can help me give my family a happy
Welcome back to Trading 360. I'm Marley Caden here at our Chicago headquarters. Let's head out to the New York Stock Exchange for a check on the market. Welcome in Nicole Petalides, host of Opening Bell and the Watch List. Good morning, Nicole. We're about 2 hours into trading today, starting a new trading week here. What's sticking out to you so far?
That people better make sure to have their protein breakfast or whatever they need to do to get through wild weeks, because we've already had back and forth action. And this is going to be a big week. You have geopolitics with Iran showing interest in speaking with the U.S. and maybe moving forward. That changed markets early on from more negative to positive and took oil off the highs. You have NVIDIA, which we're going to talk about, but reporting on the 20th of May, and that could be tell-all. I mean, that is huge. So, and lots of retail earnings that will be coming in this week. So those are just a few of the things. Also, I'd like to hear more. Maybe we'll get bits and pieces of what came out of the meeting in China. You have a deal happening with Dominion and Nextera. You have Dominion up 14% on this news. And bits and pieces. Baidu came out with some earnings that were a beat in that. Well, they're mixed, but it was some good news. That was up about 5% in the early going. And you have a lot of price target hikes and such. But I think the big picture and takeaway is that people are still positive on AI overall. Lucas Downey, who I spoke to earlier today, he said he still likes AI, he still thinks it runs the market. He's looking at earnings gushers like Broadcom, AMD, and Corning. We're going to talk more about NVIDIA in a moment, but people are seeming more positive than negative, but making sure to balance on the other side.
All right, let's talk about NVIDIA, Nicole, because we've got the earnings, the Super Bowl of earnings, as some like to call it, coming up on Wednesday. Expectations very high here. Already bullish sentiment going in, but we've got some increased bullish sentiment today from some analysts.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of them more so than others. I mean, Morgan Stanley did raise the price target there to 285 up from 260. So that shows some conviction just there alone. They did talk about they expect the numbers to beat and have a good bullish tone. They talked about a positive stock overall. KeyBank put 300 up from 275. They kept an overweight rating, and they expect strong results and guidance. Blackwell shipments, your Blackwell GPU shipments, that was looking really good. They see it rising by 150,000 to 200,000 quarter over quarter, adding an estimated $5 billion to $7 billion in revenue. Rubin revenue, $3 to $4 billion included in the outlook, and improving HBM4 supply for the GPU shipments. The H200 chips, last week we were hearing that number being upwards of $50 billion. Here, KeyBank is saying that it could represent 13 to 14 billion in potential revenue. Sort of like, we'll take it. And Wedbush also has a $300 outperform rating. I mean, I leave you with the fact that you are seeing the price target raises. You've seen NVIDIA around 222 here today. So when you're hearing 285, 300, you hear the upside potential. And, the beat and raise theme is still very much alive when you talk to. That's what they're known for, right? The beat and the raise. But the question is just still the long term. And that was something that I think Morgan Stanley was a little concerned about. Last but not least, you did have Evercore raising putting out their year-end target of 7,750, and that was driven by AI. And I did this in my Inside AI piece today, and in fact, they even have a more bullish target. If you watch the piece, 9,000, and AI will be at least in part responsible for that. So pretty exciting to hear that most people still think AI is driving this like its own era and something revolutionary and uncharted territory. Marley.
Absolutely, and we'll get some confirmation likely on Wednesday if most of the analyst community is correct when we hear from NVIDIA. The question is going to be what that raise is. I think that seems to be the guidance story is what everybody's after. Nicole, really appreciate you breaking all of that down for us. Nicole Petalides. Now it's time for the disruptors. Kevin Green, our senior markets correspondent, here to take a look at ServiceNow today. B of A reinstating coverage of the stock with a buy. Now walk us through this call, because we're seeing a really nice pop for ServiceNow today, trading up 6% higher on a down day overall.
We are seeing a nice little move higher here when it comes to ServiceNow, and this is actually kind of reverberating across the software space as a whole here. This inverse relationship between hardware and the semiconductors and software. It seems like hardware is a little bit soft today. The software names are obviously catching a bit, but B of A is reinstating their coverage to a buy rating here in a price target of $130. They do believe that ServiceNow is positioned to actually benefit from artificial intelligence, not to be replaced by artificial intelligence. And they also state that the depth and breadth of their workflow is really allowing them to be entrenched within the overall ecosystem as a whole, not only for their current customers, but also for those that they are bringing on board here. So they are very optimistic. They are also seeing the updates when it comes to autonomous agents. They're rolling those out internally, not only when it comes to IT staff, as well as the employee base, but also helping out with customer workflows. So that should also improve margins over the long term. Now, we have seen ServiceNow move to the downside fairly aggressively over the last couple of months here, especially after the earnings announcement. They did see the fact that the Middle East conflict is actually impacting them when it comes to some of the larger deals that was expected to be closed within the quarter here, and that's having an impact on their top line growth. Now, they did increase their subscription revenue, but it came in well short of the street's expectations here. But the stock has been selling off really aggressively. You are starting to see potentially a little bit of a base that's taking place right now. If you're looking at a weekly chart, we have a consolidation and potentially a breakout to the upside, or trying to break out to the upside here with the MACD on the weekly chart and a bullish formation still below the zero line, but that 12-week EMA is above the 26-week EMA, and the RSI is also making higher lows, just signifying that we are seeing that price momentum to the downside starting to wane here a little bit. Now, you will have a headwind when it comes to the 106 level. That's the 20-week EMA, but if you're able to break above that, you could make the case that 140 could be your next major area of resistance. And if you have this rotation trade still in effect over the next couple of months, ServiceNow could be a beneficiary of that, Marley.
All right, so right now we're just north of $100 for ServiceNow. You highlighted 106 and potentially 140 as areas where we might see some resistance. So if you were going to structure an example trade here, KG, how would you go about doing that?
Well, giving yourself a little bit of time, if you are bullish on the name, I'm actually looking at the July monthly 115 call. Now, this is to get upside exposure, but it also is risk defined. You will be spending $4.75 on the trade, basically meaning $475 here. So that's the max loss potential. The max gain is unlimited because the stock can move to the upside to infinity, theoretically. And the break-even point here is $119.75. Now, you have a little bit of time. There will be state of decay day by day, but not as much because you have 60 days until expiration. What you would like to see is the stock obviously continuing to move to the upside here. That's where this trade becomes profitable. And then identify a take profit level for the call and also define a stop level to the downside in the event that ServiceNow does reverse. So, Marley, a little bit of time trying to get upside exposure. If you get that breakout above that 106, could see the buying activity really accelerate. This example of trade would be able to benefit in that type of environment.
All right now though, we're trading 6% higher for ServiceNow on the heels of this reinstated coverage from B of A at $100.96 right now. Kevin, really appreciate you being with us today. I'll talk to you a little bit later. Coming up next, it's time for our 360 round. We'll be diving into the earnings from Baidu, which has the stock higher this morning. Trading 360 will be right back.
Trading at Schwab is powered by Ameritrade, unlocking the power of Thinkorswim, the award-winning trading platforms. Bring your trades into focus on Thinkorswim Desktop with robust charting and analysis tools, including over 400 technical studies. Tailor the platforms to your unique needs with nearly endless customization, and track market trends with up-to-the-minute news and insights.
But I'm not lost.
I'm Alex Hobby.
And I'm Jenny Horns. This is Next Gen Investing, where we track the trends shaping tomorrow's market.
From tech to energy, crypto to consumer, we focus on what's driving investor sentiment right now.
Clear analysis and forward-looking market coverage every trading day.
This is a make or break level for this stock.
And that could certainly be a short to near-term catalyst.
Next Gen Investing, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Only on Schwab Network.
There you are. Come to see new sites. Dad, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When did Granddad first start investing?
Granddad had an account with Schwab before there were branches in the area. We really started with nothing. He worked hard, and after he passed away, the torch has been passed to me. And my advisor, Jennifer, she was with me with the journey, helping with the estate distribution. The 2 grandchildren, planning for their college educations. Someday it'll be their turn.
This is Fast Market, built for traders who want more than just headlines.
We walk you through trade ideas with structure, risk management, and a focus on execution.
From options to earnings to volatility plays, we bring decades of trading experience to everyone.
With real-time insight across products and sectors, we deliver what active traders need to stay ahead. Fast Market weekdays at noon Eastern, live on Schwab Network at schwabnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Trading 360. I'm Marley Caden. It's time now for our 360 round. For that, let's bring in our panel to discuss the earnings from Baidu. Joining us now, Ted Thatcher, President of Bright Lake Wealth Management, and Brendan Kavanaugh, Chief Strategy Officer at Defiance ETFs. Ted, we'll start with you today. What's standing out with you most on the report that we got today? We saw some sort of seesaw action in response, but now we're about 1.5% higher.
Yeah, Marley, when I look at Baidu, I think that there's a value story for investors and a growth story for investors. On the value side, fundamentally, when you look at the sum of the parts here, you're looking at a company that trades at a valuation of $45 to $50 billion. They have $40.5 billion just on their balance sheet of cash. They have a huge stake worth $8.5 billion on a hot, growing AI chip company. And at that point, you're saying, okay, am I getting the rest of this company totally for free? They have a growing, of course, AI business that's, we saw the numbers come out today. That's going in the right direction. We saw their Apollo Go robo-taxi platform growing really well. And so that's the growth story. And then again, on the value side, I think that some of the parts are attractive.
And Brendan, you called this a low quality beat. Do we have Brendan? Okay, wonderful. We've got Brendan. Okay, Brendan, you called this a low quality beat. What specifically is sending up some warning flares for you?
No, at the onset, that's what I thought. But then diving into the call and looking at the numbers a little more, I was actually a lot more pleasantly surprised. Hearing what Robin and hearing what the CFO had to say about everything happening in the AI revenue space, right? That inflection point was massive. But when you think about the growth in the cloud computing space, everything they mentioned from Apollo Go, I think that there was a lot that they, you saw this as the trough quarter, and I think that they built a lot of upward momentum into expectations going forward.
And Ted, you described this basically, and I want to get it right, as basically getting Google plus OpenAI plus Waymo for free. Do you think that we are undervaluing Baidu right now because of some of the numbers and how they broke down?
I do think that there, again, is a value play here for investors. Look, they love to be compared to Google. Who in their shoes wouldn't want to be compared to Google? I'm not trying to say that they are, the mega cap company that Google is, but they are the primary search provider still in China. They don't have the market share. Theirs is more like 50 to 60% in China. But when you look at that, again, that's still a lot of revenue coming to them. Well noted, they hit that AI inflection point. 52% of their revenue coming out of this quarter is AI driven now. But when you pair that with a huge growing Apollo Go platform up this quarter, huge number year over year is 120%. Peaking rides, 350,000 a week in some cases. And then that's to say nothing of their, JetGPT equivalent, Ernie 5.1, which might not be at the front of the frontier models, but even from a performance standpoint is in that group. And so I think that from an investor's standpoint, those are attractive things, of course.
And Brendan, when we look at companies like Alphabet or Microsoft who've been rewarded for this pivot to AI infrastructure, why do you think it is that we aren't seeing the same treatment in Baidu yet?
I think, again, we both mentioned that this is this specific time where we're seeing the AI revenue manifest itself. So the inflection point is kind of the bottom of where things can go from here. So I'm super optimistic that the stock itself will get the treatment that the others have gotten. Obviously, we talk about AI infrastructure a lot. There's a ton happening there. That is really the move and where you want to be shifting your focus when you're looking at expanding revenues and capitalizing on the opportunities in the marketplace right now.
And And Ted, I also want to talk about Apollo Go, because that's a huge part of this business as well. They posted more than 3 million fully driverless rides in the quarter. At what point, if ever, does the market start valuing that business independently from Baidu's core operations?
Too quiet.
It's really interesting because I do think the Google comparison is a very interesting one here, because they also have Waymo, of course, within their holdings, and they don't really get much credit for it either. I think that we just have to see a bigger and bigger market share. So obviously the Apollo Go platform is expanding. They're in Dubai. They're looking at different parts of Europe and Switzerland. And so I think fundamentally, as we see that take across, the globe more, they'll get more and more credit for that. It's just honestly not quite there yet. And so again, as they expand globally, I think that that's where they'll start to get more credit. And fundamentally with their valuation, to Brandon's point, I think is well made. There is a little bit of geopolitical, pressure on them. In China, you just don't have the valuation capability that you do in the U.S. A lot of Chinese companies might get 50 or 60% of the gas, if you will, that the U.S. market has. And so I think they're fighting a little bit of that there. Again, though, at this price, at this valuation, I think there's value for investors.
Let's talk about value here too, Brendan. I'm looking over your notes. One of the biggest themes in your notes is the balance sheet here. You're sitting on nearly $40 billion in cash against roughly a $47 billion market cap. Why do you think the market is still assigning such a discounted valuation? Is it that we needed this quarter, this inflection point quarter, for things to change?
I mean, I really do think, this becomes a proof of concept. Like, again, $40 billion of cash just sitting there. Think about, to things I've made, or that I brought up, or that Ted's brought up, what they as a company can do with it, right? That's dry powder when they can be expanding, everything in the AI space. They can fund, stock buybacks, dividends. They can really lean into things in that Apollo Go segment that their competitors couldn't necessarily do, all without having to tap external markets. I think that's just a huge tailwind for the stock itself. And I think, again, goes back to that whole proof of concept situation that I think the market was waiting to hear from this earnings result. And I think over time, they'll benefit, or the stock itself will benefit from this being hopefully priced in going forward.
All right, I want to thank you both for being with us to take a closer look at Baidu today. At those results, we saw that AI growth impressive, ad sales lagging in that report, but the market looking through it, we're now up 2 1/3% for Baidu this morning. Thanks to Ted Thatcher from Bright Lake Wealth Management and Brendan Kavanaugh from Defiance ETFs. Really appreciate you both being with us. I also want to thank all of you for joining us today on Trading 360. I'm Marley Caden. You can download our free Schwab Network app available in the Apple App Store. You can also tune in 24/7 on schwabnetwork.com. I'll be back with Market on Close with Sam Bottas at 3 Eastern, 2 Central, but stay with us. Fast Market with Diane King Hall is coming up next.
Schwab Bank Investor Checking, the checking account built for investors, named highest in client satisfaction by J.D. Power for 7 years in a row. With Investor Checking, you get the award-winning features of our checking account, plus cash management solutions, all designed for investors like you, with unlimited ATM fee rebates for cash withdrawals worldwide, no overdraft fees, and enhanced security features to keep your money safe. Also, because your Investor Checking account is linked to your Schwab One brokerage account, you can manage your checking and investing in one convenient location. Moving funds between your accounts is easy. Cash moved to your brokerage account is available in seconds. That means you can stop waiting and start investing in stocks, bonds, money market funds, and more. Get more with Schwab Bank Investor Checking, the checking account built for investors.
Schwab coaching is concepts brought
Schwab coaching is learning constantly.
It's relatable, it's practical,
clear, understandable,
and hopefully entertaining. Take it for what it's worth, but I think it's absolutely world class.
Schwab coaching is actionable, individualized, community, growth, and empowering.
It's really human touch with more investing.
We have coaches who have been in the industry and around the industry for a long time.
So the nice thing about Schwab coaching is that clients get access to different sets of
Shows we host. We want to engage with you outside of the classes we host.
A consolidated add to this trade.
trade. So we shall see. We have different formats because people learn differently at different times.
If somebody's a real bookworm, we've got courses for you to learn from. They can dig in, go at their own pace.
We have webcasts running through YouTube all day, every trading day.
We've got this ongoing 24, 25 times a year events that are making their way around the country.
So you get that opportunity to share experiences and knowledge with other traders.
They're kind of helping each other learn step by step along with the education that we provide them as well.
We're going to be able to help you regardless of where you are on that path of education.
It's really unique, not just that it exists, but that you can tap into 30-some hours worth of it each and every week. How incredible is that? And it's free.
I still remember his
Welcome to the water.
Welcome to The Wrap. I'm Jenny Moore, taking you through the biggest market moves, standout headlines, and the sharpest takes from the Schwab Network team. If it moves the markets, we've got you covered. Let's dive in.
The lows, the S&P 500 just rounding out the day on the line to the downside, particularly off the back of President Trump saying that they were going to hold off on a scheduled attack on Iran, which was expected to come tomorrow. So that's where we sort of saw a move just in the last hour. We saw oil coming off a bit, so were yields. I mean, the 10-year was at 462 when we started this show. It's at 460 right now. And then, as I mentioned, that certainly helped stocks lift a little bit here. It's still underwater for the NASDAQ 100 as well, down around 0.5%. And really a lot of the drag is coming from the chip names as well. They continue to track lower today, an extension of the Friday losses, as we mentioned, particularly in that memory cohort, pretty much all under pressure today. Some heavy selling, particularly names like Micron, SanDisk, Seagate, Western Dig. A lot of this is being attributed to obviously the concerns around the hit to production and shipments that a potential Samsung worker strike could have on the broader industry. So there's a lot of attention on that right now. But of course, the chip trade being something that had been pretty crowded, as we know, and people saying was due for a bit of a pullback. What was encouraging, as we've mentioned, we did see a rotation into softwares today. The IGV actually ended up over 1%. So technology was 1% lower in the day. As we mentioned, more of a defensive type of trade kicking in here. Staples were higher to the tune of 1.5%. Communication services were also up 8.10. Discretionary was lower on the day as well. You had Tesla down almost 3%. Amazon eking out just a fractional gain there. In fact, among the Max 7, you had Google, which was just on the line to the upside. It came off the highs as well. Then you had Microsoft that was really flip-flopping throughout the course of the day. In fact, started the day off higher, came off a bit, and then once we got this Sam Altman, Elon Musk news and that whole sideshow, as people have been describing it as, once that was removed, we actually saw a little pickup in Microsoft as well, remembering that that had been named as a defendant in the suit. So that's what happened with the Mag 7 and technologies. Utilities were slightly higher, so was real estate up 1.2%. We're getting pending home sales out to tomorrow for more of it, information and updates. But obviously speaking to a lot of real estate guests today, the situation doesn't look like it's improving all that much, although we got home builder confidence coming out today by the way of NAHP, and things are picking up just at the margin. Financials were up 1.3%. Energy, as KG pointed out there, 2% higher on the day as we continue to see WTI and Brent tracking in triple digits here, and healthcare was up on the day as well, 0.4%. So let's bring Marley and KG back into the conversation. I'm just wondering what you made of the chip trade, KG, because I'm just wondering, you know, it's all very well that when technology seems to be rallying, we say, oh, the market doesn't care about Iran headlines. But when technology is down, we see the sensitivity. Well, what does that say about semiconductor stocks?
Well, I think it's, obviously, when you look at the memory names, they did have a very strong showing over the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So a pullback is not out of the ordinary. And a lot of these stocks can come back and retest their 20-day moving average and continue to move higher. And the technical bull trend is still going to be in place. What you did see on Friday was really a liquidation type of moment or a distribution moment for this industry to continue throughout today's session. Now, there has been a pair trade that I think it's really simple. We had hardware catching a bid when it comes to the semiconductor trade, especially memory. And you had individuals selling off of the software trade. And if you kind of look at it, at least for today, hardware was down, software was up. IGV is up around 1.2% in today's session, and I think if the sell-off in the semiconductors continues, I think the software sector is going to see positive inflows. And I think it's really simple like that. It makes it a little bit harder for the S&P 500 to continue to advance because it's been a really good rating, positive rating for the S&P and the NASDAQ. But at the end of the day, I think there's just a roll-off of that pairs trade, and it seems like there's a simple fix for it. Once we have an equilibrium in this market, then we'll probably see it settle out. Volatility coming in on both industries, and then we kind of assess where we go from here. But I know the headlines when it comes to the shortages and not being able to fulfill orders and then potential strikes is really, causing a little bit of a stir. But I think this is more just profit taking levels more than anything. A reason to sell, if you will, Sam.
And KG, you just highlighted if once we get the equilibrium, I guess I wish you had a crystal ball to tell us when that's going to be, but obviously something that potentially could upset that equilibrium or throw us continued off balance is we've got NVIDIA coming this week, and I've had several guests say to me that they think once we hear from NVIDIA, we are setting up for the sell in May and go away. Everyone's just waiting for that, and they're sort of pushing it down the line. As you look at the technical setup for both NVIDIA and for the broader market, what are you seeing there? Are we perhaps in for a macro correction? The sell in May is just coming a few weeks after May started?
I think if you're looking at NVIDIA in the last 3 earnings announcements, it has not been bullish for equities. And in fact, if you look at NVIDIA 7 days after they reported earnings, the stock has been down. And so I think the market is probably preparing for that type of reaction as well. I'm not sure how much of that is going to have an impact on the memory names. It seems like they're kind of trading in their own lane at this point. And there's a lot of traders and investors that are kind of questioning how far we can go from here. So I think the market's just kind of bracing for NVIDIA to report, beat both on the top bottom line, increase the revenue guidance by $5 billion once again, and really the market probably either staying where it's at or maybe drifting a little bit lower if you're looking at NVIDIA. And to be honest with you, the premium sellers going into those events have been the big winners in the last couple of quarters, and I would not be surprised if they're going to be the winners moving forward here. Outside of that, I think the bigger risk that you have as far as the secular standpoint is actually financials, which had a really good day today, up about 1% or so. If you're looking at the longer term time frame chart, it does appear that it wants to kind of break down and have a pretty decent correction. It just depends on how much that's going to have a broader impact on the equity market as a whole, or if that's going to be an isolated event.
Yeah, it's interesting just around the timing of the chip sell-off. I heard one view that maybe it was because we got nothing from the Trump-Xi meeting. So, basically it was just nothing left to chase as far as, no reason to buy because, we got no deliveries from any tech deals or, neither president walked away with anything really substantial. So maybe, as you say, just obviously the run-up that we've seen some profit taking here. How are you thinking about the macro with these higher yields right now? People have been saying like 450, 460 is kind of the danger zone on the 10-year as far as dampening the move, but there seems to be a very big debate out there as to, whether this stops the AI and the CapEx trade in its tracks or not right now, KG. And I don't suspect you have the answer, but how are you putting all the macro data together right now?
Yeah, so interest rates moving higher, I don't think has an impact on CapEx spend from the hyperscalers. They have enough money in order to kind of compensate, and a lot of them are really not. Some of them are buying and hitting into the debt markets, but I don't think it's going to have a meaningful impact when it comes to the long-term spend and the trajectory. And that's kind of evident by Google Alphabet that did raise their CapEx guidance by about $25 billion or so, and I think 15 billion of that is just because memory prices went higher. They have the cash on hand in order to spend to cover. For the 10-year, you can make 2 thoughts about it. I think if you look at the daily chart right now, 4.63 has been an area of resistance for us. If you're looking at that back in May of last year, that was kind of the top. I think that's probably why you did see that rotation trade into financials, into staples, and even some utilities for that matter, outside of the NextEra and Dominion deal here. There may be a near-term top when it comes to the 10-year treasury. You would hope so. And if not, if you see a breakdown, unfortunately, it can accelerate very aggressively. And I think the macro data, especially if you're looking at China, is a little bit concerning. Industrial production coming in lighter than the street expectations. expectations, retail sales coming in line with Wall Street's expectations, pretty much at levels that we saw back in 2022, 2023, and that's not really a good sign. You are still seeing some demand destruction in the energy complex because prices are moving higher, as well as the supply chains are kind of being broken up here. So I think we're probably at that inflection point over the next couple of weeks here, where the data might turn over and look a little bit worse around the globe, and that might also put pressure on yields, not only here in the United States, but around the world. And we're seeing that already in the UK, you name it. Any yield right now for any major economy is moving higher.
KG, we're going to have to leave it there for today, but really appreciate you being with us for the closing panel today. Kevin Green
has been slain. Double kill. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Trading at Schwab is powered by Ameritrade, giving you even more specialized trading support. Connect with the Schwab Trade Desk, our team of passionate traders ready to tackle your trading questions.
The other one.
Plus, get
$24 cupcakes, weak ass cupcakes, nigga.
Email and in-platform.
A weak ass fucking cupcakes, nigga. You could have sold one of them weak ass dumb.
Hey, Bob. Last year, my dad had a stroke. Big shock to see this person that I've always seen as a force in our family be vulnerable. Had a stroke? Yes. Now we're in the car together. Daily, I started to realize, what can I pick up for my dad? He's been with Schwab for a long time. Jim, my brother. Makes a huge difference. Actually cares.
Equities to global macro matters. Schwab Network connects the dots. Watch, subscribe free at schwabnetwork.com.
Once more.
Sometimes, you know,
Victory.
you could have done better. Same goes for where you invest. Level up and invest smarter with Schwab.
Morning Movers brings traders the biggest headlines to start the day. From volatile overnight swings to the earliest analyst calls. Get your watch list ready. 8 a.m. Eastern. Morning Movers only on Schwab Network.
Stay connected to what moves markets. Download the Schwab Network app and stream live coverage wherever you are.
Welcome to The Wrap. I'm Jenny Horn. It's time now for the Big Three.
We've got 3 stocks, 3 charts, and 3 trades for you. Rick Ducat, of course, will take us through the charts. Here to take us through the trades today, Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, great to have you back on the show. Would love to get your thoughts on, how we're kicking off a new trading week here. We opened the show a bit of a mixed bag, but now we're pretty firmly in the red here.
Yeah, overnight there was some caution. We were in the red, and we got back in the green a little bit here on some of the.
That there were people who would use the bathroom. I'm using languages for the short labors. They would sit on toilet stools. Use the bathroom, right? So-called wipe themselves with paper and then just get up and walk out without turning on never faucet, without putting not one drop of soap on not one hand, not one finger, not one digit of one finger. Just get up and walk out and be like, well, what was that all about? That was the first time I ever heard that a grown person talking about, no, I don't wash my hands. We were shocked. We found out during that time that the heathen believed that when he took a shower, or this was a woman, she said she never, ever washed her body. She was told that all she had to do was run the water over her head, and that the water that's running down her body automatically cleaned her. And she grew up believing that her whole life. She thought that it was the water. And that's how she lived until she met one of the Hebrew Israelites. I think she said she was in the military or something. When one of the sisters actually told her, you gotta wash yourself with some soap. And she said, what is that? What do you mean? Then there was another heathen who was camping. And this heathen was like, yeah, out here on the camp, whenever I want to take a bath, that's what he said. Whenever I want to take a bath, I just jump in the river and get out. What did you say, heathen? Some of y'all in the chat right now, you don't believe me, and some of you watching the rebroadcast, you think I'm putting a 10 on the 2, but I'm not. I'm telling you what y'all love. That heathen said, whenever I want to bathe, he said, all I do, I just jump in the river and swim around, and then I get out. And all of us Israelites, when we heard these reports coming out of these heathen circles, we were astonished. We were flabbergasted. We were flabbergasted. We was taken aback. We couldn't believe what we were hearing, because it's a big difference between getting in the water and taking a bath. It's a big difference between pouring water over your head and letting it run and you actually cleaning your body. So the idea that you could just go to a waterfall and walk under it, and then now all of a sudden you done washed away all your filth, man, that is a freaky, Greeky, Roman, English, European, weird concept that we as Hebrew Israelites, we don't know nothing about that. We believe that if you're going to be washed, you better get some hyssop somewhere. Washing involves, watch this, washing involves some agitation. Yes. When you get ready to wash your clothes, next time somebody say, hey, I need to wash some clothes, I tell you what, just take some clothes and just put it in water and take it out. Or next time your children get ready to wash the dishes, say, hey, you ain't got to wash them. All you really need to do is take your dishes, fill up the sink with water, take your dirty dishes, run it through the water, put it in the water, take it out, put it down. Run it, put it in the water, take it down. Just do that and tell me whether or not that dish is clean. And then, well, I baptized it. Is it clean, though? No, when you took the dirty dishes and you put it in water and brought it out, it's still dirty. I know you baptized it. I hear you. More, but we baptized the dish. Did you scrub it? Did you rub on it? Did you wash it? Did you get a towel? What did you do? I think you're catching my concept. I want to show you that the mindset that you can just go in water and come out of water and now you're saved is preposterous. It's a twisting of your scripture. It's a demonic doctrine that got people thinking that even though you are a sinner and you are full of sin, that some kind of way by just going in water and coming out, the water washes your sin. And so therefore a lot of people feel like I need to be baptized. What time is it? Okay, let me share something with you. I think I told you all that in the so-called Christian church, Catholicism, any religion, any world religion, the majority of the time, our people, when we talk about baptism, people want to be baptized because they're trying to be cleansed of some type of sex act that they committed. That's pretty much all. That's most of the time all. That's it. Because they don't really believe in spiritual sin against the Torah. So what happens is, people, they feel bad because they've been living a life, and they think that because they've been out committing fornication and adultery and all that. So this is what they think. What I need to do is get baptized. Because if I go in the water and get baptized, then that water will wash away all of my adultery, all my fornication. Sometimes people think if I get baptized, that'll wash away all my drug abuse. That'll wash away all my whatever. And they believe that the water has this idea. So people be like, I know my problem is I need to be baptized. What they're saying is, I need to go through this water because this water will wash away my sins. I want to show you something. That's not what Kiefer was talking about at all. So what was you talking about? He's talking about cleaning, not just getting wet, not being dipped in water. The concept is cleaning, right? So, Leviticus 14. Let's prove some of these things. So the idea of Hebrew baptism that the people heard, Kifa, remember, this is a feast. The feast day is Shavuot. All right? So let's understand that the priests and the Levites, they all had a responsibility during all of the feast days. And one of the things that we're going to find, matter of fact, let's go to Leviticus. What time is it? Let's put this in the first video. We got several videos coming on this. Told y'all don't have a clue. We're going to have a clue after this video. Go to Leviticus chapter 14. All right? Go to Leviticus chapter 14. And while you're finding Leviticus 14, support this work. Some of y'all could do it right now. We have made it so easy. It's in the chat. It's in the description of the videos. You can
boy, I would have died down here, boy. I'm not I got right here.
You can support through the offerings. And you can do it right now, especially as we come up on Shavuot. All right, so let's do that. Keep us full time, keep us preaching, keep this message going all over the world, and allow us to continue to put in this type of work for the kingdom. Look at it. In Leviticus chapter 14, I think. Yes. I want verse. Okay, let's start. Yeah. Ooh, let's start at verse 8, just for now. And he that is to be cleansed, watch, shall wash. He that shall wash.
Boy, look at them old lady bodies, boy. Them old lady bodies. We thinking they fucking feel right. Them old fucking Bobby Bill.
Himself in water, that he may be clean, and after that he shall come into the camp. and shall tarry abroad out of his tent 7 days. See it? Wash. Wash. Not just dip. Wash. Leviticus, stay in Leviticus. Go back a few pages to Leviticus chapter 8. Dealing with Aaron and his sons. Leviticus chapter 8, I think I want verse.
Welcome to Summoner's
Verse, start at verse 6.
In the end, only the day.
And Moses brought Aaron and his sons, watch the word, and washed. What? I'm trying to show you. If you understood it, I just need you to put another 500,000 in the chat. Not dip them. Wash. There's an emphasis here. The idea here is not just getting your body wet. It is being washed. So when you put in the water, there has to be a washing. But you're not washing for washing's sake. You are washing with a goal in mind. And what is the goal? This is very elementary now, huh? Now that y'all starting to see it, like, oh my goodness. I see where more is going. Yeah, so what's the goal of being washed in water? The goal is to be clean. And how is a man how does a person actually be clean? According to, we can read the whole book of what is that Psalm? Psalm 119. By keeping the word of Yah, which is your bodies betray you. So the purpose of, okay, the English word baptize, taken from baptismal or baptizo in Greek, right? The idea behind that is dip. The Hebraic word is not dip. The Hebraic word is to wash. I go. Right? And so the idea is the washing, but the purpose is not to wash. The purpose for washing is to clean. That's the result we want. We don't just baptize people. We don't just put people in water as a symbolic gesture. No. Baptism becomes for us so much more than just getting in water. What it actually is, it represents, listen to me, in the two examples I gave you. One, the cleansing of sin, and the next one, which is the one in Leviticus 14, is restoration. So then you see the picture, to be restored. Restored to what? Restored to the house. Restored to the covenant. Restored to your king. Restored to your family. So here is what Kifa is saying. I'm going to get out the video. I'm going to get out the room right now. We got several messages. This is just the introduction. This is what he is saying to us. He said, you all have left the Torah, you've left the house, you've left the covenant, you have left Yah's ways, you have left his commandments. So what you need to do is you have to get all of this filth You gotta get this. You gotta get this Caesar thing. I'm gonna deal with that in the next video. Since I'm not baptized, it's really our word is not baptized. It's wash. Remember that. Not this. Wash. So you gotta wash this Caesar is my king mindset out of you. That cannot be in your life. I gotta be washed away. You gotta wash away all this false doctrine and teaching from your so-called church and your so-called pastor who have literally piled the filth of idolatry and Satanism and biblical illiteracy and stupidity on you these years to where you have been an abomination to the Most High. You gotta wash that stuff out of you. Come on, the law been done away with. Joseph is the daddy of the Messiah. Gentiles can't be saved. You ain't got to do nothing to be saved. And all that nasty, twisted filth and that stinky, you know what, that you have gotten as a result of this captivity, we have to wash that out of our lives. And that's going to take some energy. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some, I heard one person say, it's going to take some hyssop. He was trying to say hyssop. The old man said, you got to be washed in hyssop. But the old man was right. Even though he didn't understand what he was saying, he was right. Is that we got to be cleansed, but it has to do with some energy. There's some effort. It has to do with some work. You got to put in the effort. Yeah. And you got to wash, how long, Moray? Until you're clean. What? You heard me? I said you got to wash until you get clean. And we'll get into the whole clean message in the next video. But I want to talk about what cleansing look like. Because if you go into so-called, if you're going to be baptized, and when you come out of the water, you're still doing every single thing that you were doing before you went in the water, you were not washed. And for sure, you were not clean. I gotta go. But the Bible teaches us how to be clean. We'll talk about it. I gotta go. Why? Support the heart. Support this kind of preaching. Support this kind of teaching. Let the world know we're learning Hebrew over here. We're learning our culture, our people, our commandments, so that we understand, wait a minute, it's more to baptism. Yes! Way more than you think. I just touched the surface. Y'all be ready for the rest of this week. We're going to fix it so clean and proper. Set the record straight. So who, more? The whole world. But for now, I got to go. How to support is in the chat. How to give. And pray for us as we pray for you. Hallelujah. If you learned something today, put a 1 million in the chat. If you can see the difference between just being dipped in water and being washed and cleansed, put a 1 million in the chat. We fixing it. We're going to talk about what real biblical cleansing look like at the end of it on our next video. Hallelujah. as always, what's that? Until next time. Keep looking up.
Your team has destroyed
our redemption.
an enemy has been slain.
We'll be back. We'll be right back in it.
Has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. Legendary. Legendary. Double kill.
Join my choir. In the end, only the damned shall live.
Ally has been slain. Legendary. An enemy has been slain.
Your bodies betray you.
Put it over.
Fear is the first of many foes.
A dream come true.
You can do this, Lilia. You are a strong, capable Dream Fawn. And you have a big stick. And you hit people with it, but don't really mean it. Sorry.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Minions have spawned.
How can I tiptoe when I don't have holes? much when they awake. They see us too.
First
I'll stay in the forest until I learn how to use this. Time to output my awkwardness. I'll face anything with a cold look in the eyes. I'm just going to go hide here.
an enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
A yawn is a smile before sleep. I like talking to you. I catch dreams so the humans can chase them. Oh, Mr. Root, you almost tricked me.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Every time I hold my branch, I see the tree with my finger. for threats. 5th time's the charm. Hang on, dream.
Slain.
The beauty of the world desires to be real. Your light's so dim.
An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill.
Do you think they'll remember me? When they wake up, do they remember themselves? A curly mind twists towards possibilities. Daydreams, night dreams, morning dreams, dusk dreams. I just had the strangest reality.
An ally has been slain.
We lie it down to see. When I'm quiet, I hear so many things.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
With me, was Oh, so that's what human nightmares are like. Tiptoe, but I don't have wings.
Ally has been slain.
The humans forget so much when they awake. No one saw that. No one saw that.
An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
Things are strong. When they say good night, do you think they mean it?
Destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed.
Dream, I'll tell you a secret. Never mind. Someone might hear.
An ally has been slain. Shut down.
I'll stay in the forest until I learn how to use Dolphin. I'm just going to go hide forever. Time to outdrop my awesomeness. I'll face anything. Look it in the eyes.
An ally has been slain. slain.
A human has a little sparkle.
And you sit in here fucking goddamn.
A yawn is a smile before sleep.
I swear them shit. I'm starting out to do.
Your turret has been destroyed. Enemy rampage. Your turret has been destroyed.
I like talking to you, Dream.
An enemy has been slain.
Rise asleep. Beautiful when it's real.
Ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Oh, Mr. Root, you almost tripped me. Every time I hold my branch, I see the key with my fingers. I'll go
Double kill. An ally has been slain.
Was that me?
Enemy killing spree. Shut down. Your turret has been destroyed.
Not good.
Enemy rampage. Your inhibitor has been restored.
Do you think they'll remember me, Dream? When they wake up, do they remember themselves?
An ally has been slain.
The beauty of the world begs desires to be real.
Ally has been slain.
Close your eyes.
Is unstoppable. Your turret has been destroyed.
What's wrong, Dream? Are you ready to bloom?
Your turret has been destroyed.
A curly mind twists towards
Your inhibitor has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain. Enemy killing spree.
Dreams, mid-morning dreams, dusk dreams.
Shut down.
You dreamed and ate. it's red because it says night watching. Or is it just me?
Enemy double kill. An ally has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed.
So that's what human nightmares are like.
I'll be funneling.
Get in the fight.
When you buy a vehicle, you're making one of the biggest financial commitments of your life. And when that vehicle fails to perform as promised, it's not just an inconvenience. It's a breach of trust between you and the manufacturer.
At Rockpoint Law, we hold manufacturers accountable. Our firm is built on a core principle that every consumer deserves zealous and experienced legal representation.
Our team of dedicated lemon law attorneys do this day in and day out. We know the law cold, and we know how to build cases that get results.
We've handled thousands of cases involving these brands. We know how they operate, what evidence they respond to, and where their arguments fall apart.
Whether it's a buyback, a replacement vehicle, or a significant cash settlement, we fight relentlessly for our clients.
Because a lemon law claim isn't just about a car. It's about your money, your time, your safety, and your family's safety. And no manufacturer gets to shrug that off. Not on my watch.
And you pay nothing out of pocket. The manufacturer covers our fees when we win. So if you're dealing with a defective vehicle, contact Rockpoint Law for a free confidential case evaluation.
Who wants a piece of it?
Rockpoint. Protecting your rights, delivering results.
You don't have to tell me.
Summoner's Rift.
For those unfamiliar, a prop firm is a platform that allows you to trade with someone else's capital and you split the profits. So it sounds easy, but it isn't that straightforward.
Hold her steady.
미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다. 미니언들이 생성됐습니다.
Hold her steady.
Ally has been slain. Enemy double kill.
This is gonna be wrong. Now we're cooking.
se ve. Now we're cooking.
An enemy has been slain.
Who you calling little?
An ally has been slain.
Ever look up to it? You don't have to tell me twice. 곧 포탑 방패가 사라집니다. You don't have to tell me twice.
slain. An enemy has been slain.
What's a piece of this?
Your team has destroyed a turret.
You don't have to tell me twice. You don't have to tell me twice.
Slain. Double kill.
Yeah, good night, brother. Go enjoy your workout. That's what I'm going to the gym for. Yeah, so good. All right, boys. I'm gonna wrap it up here for the one in the morning.